the woman never imagined that the husband she hated the most would die in a car accident to save her, while they were getting a divorce. As he was dying, lying in a pool of blood, he said to her, "If there is a next life, I hope I never meet you again." Su Chinua held my blood-covered body, crying her heart out. At that moment, she loathed herself. She clearly loved her husband dearly. If it wasn't for her pride, how did they end up divorcing? And how did this happen? After I passed away, Su Chinua remained depressed. A year later, she swallowed a large amount of sleeping pills in her room. She closed her eyes with a smile. "Hubby, I'm coming to atone for my sins." When she opened her eyes again, Su Chinua was in their wedding room. She looked into the mirror on the vanity. Her hand instinctively touched her face. The sensation was real. Moreover, her wrists were as clean as new. There were no scars from cutting her wrists. The phone next to her lit up with a text message. Su Chinua picked it up to check. The time displayed on it was actually May 11th. All signs were indicating to Su Chinua that she had been reborn. Then what about him? Su Chinua felt like a drowning person, searching for a lifeline. At the thought of being able to see me again, having the chance to make it up to me, tears welled up in her bright eyes. Su Chinua left the room in a panic. Not at all like her usual self, that of a high and mighty female CEO. In fact, it wasn't that Su Chinua didn't love me anymore. When her mother was seriously ill, I used my own startup capital to pay for her mother's medical treatment, which made her place herself in a vulnerable position. She owed me her total obedience and meticulous care. Once the company was on the right track, while her career flourished and I wasted away, Su Chinua wanted to become the one who held the upper hand in the relationship. Little did she know that this mindset led to one conflict after another, causing marital disharmony, constant arguing, sleeping in separate rooms, leading step by step to divorce. Both sides built an insurmountable barrier. In her past life, standing before the Civil Affairs Bureau, Su Chinua completely regretted it. But before she could even speak, they were caught in a crime of passion. A scumbag husband tricked his wife into a fake divorce, so he could register his marriage with his mistress. The wife suddenly drove her car, and crashed into that cursed pair of adulterers. It also affected Su Chinua and me nearby. In the moment of danger, I instinctively pushed her away. When Su Chinua, who had fallen to the ground, stood up, she saw a hellish scene. I was already lying in a pool of blood. Since the day she lost me, it seemed everything had lost its meaning. The person who would give everything for her was gone. She hated herself deeply. If it hadn't been for her own actions, how could things have reached this point today? Su Chinua went to the living room, and found the man she longed for sitting on the sofa, just a few steps away. She gazed blankly at the man before her. The joy of reunion, and the regrets of her past life erupted in her heart. But my words pulled Su Chinua back to the cruel reality. Let's get a divorce. Take a look at the agreement. If there are no issues, just sign it. Make time to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau with me tomorrow. Su Chinua felt as if she had fallen into an ice cellar. Even if heaven showed mercy and gave her a second chance, the crisis in her relationship with her husband still existed, and it had reached a precarious point. If there was no way to save it, this life would just be a repeat of the same mistakes. Even if the car accident could be avoided, the two would still become strangers. The man she loved most would become another woman's husband, giving the love that should have belonged to her, to someone else. "Hubby, let's not get a divorce, okay?" Su Chinua said with tears in her eyes. Perhaps it was because I hadn't heard that name in so long, that it suddenly felt very unfamiliar. I looked up at Su Chinua. She was incredibly beautiful back in university, the renowned, unreachable, flower on a high peak. She is even more beautiful now, like a bright moon in the sky, but I no longer felt that spark. "I'm already tired. Let me go, and let yourself go too. Ending it sooner is better for everyone. Su Chinua, you are no longer that girl, and I have lost myself in this marriage. The once happy sanctuary has turned into a cold cage. What kind of couple sleeps in separate beds for no reason? The children I wanted, you kept putting it off again and again. We clearly agreed on all this before getting married." I took a deep breath. There's no use saying more. There are many other things I don't want to bring up again. You treated me with coldness. Isn't it because you wanted a divorce? As you wish. Just sign it. We'll go to the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow. These words seemed to turn into knives. cutting back and forth at Su Qingyue's heart. It's my fault for not fulfilling my duties as a wife. Hubby, give me one more chance. I will definitely be a proper wife from now on, and love you for the rest of my life. Su Qingyue's voice choked slightly, tears in her beautiful eyes. I didn't understand why my usually ice-cold wife would burst into tears when I asked for a divorce. Does she really care? Maybe one only learns to cherish something once it's lost. Or is she afraid I'm after her company? What's the point? Recalling these years of stifling days, my heart didn't waver. Whether you sign it or not, this divorce is going to happen. For the sake of our past, let's part on good terms. After saying that, I left the agreement on the coffee table, and went back to my room alone, leaving Su Qingyue. In the living room, she admitted every word her husband said was true. She admitted she had hurt her lover's heart, no matter what the cost. She had to earn my forgiveness. Su Qingyue didn't want to feel the pain of losing me again. In the bathroom, I stood under the shower, letting the warm water wash over me. Tonight's confrontation was far beyond my expectations. If it were the wife from when we first married, I could confidently guarantee that she loved me. But as the company grew larger, the gap between us widened. She was no longer as gentle as before. Constant conflicts and cold wars. Our once happy life was a mess. Is there still love between us? I reached out and watched the water flow through my palm. After the shower, I opened my laptop, finished some chores and prepared to sleep. Just then, there was a knock at the door. Su Qingyue's heart was filled with bitterness. Once love becomes a game of power, there are no winners. After all the back and forth, she and her husband had reached the point of sleeping in separate rooms, to the extent that they had to knock even to enter each other's room. Aside from having a marriage certificate, how was this any different from rooming with a stranger? I opened the door. My wife was wearing an elegant white nightgown, an aloof aura to be admired from afar, not approached. It softened quite a bit. What is it, honey? Go back to sleep in the master bedroom. I've already made the bed. There was tenderness in the cold voice. If I remember correctly, you were the one who wanted to sleep in separate rooms. I was simply stating the fact. We've slept apart for so long, that I'm already used to sleeping alone. You should think about what I said tonight. The door closed. The conversation ended. Su Qingyue knew. It wasn't easy to warm her husband's heart. The heart she had completely broken. Yet she couldn't help but feel disappointed. When they first married, they were so sweet. Cuddling in the marriage bed, refusing to get up, was now a luxury. He returned to the master bedroom. The spaciousness turned into loneliness. On the nightstand, there was still a framed wedding photo. Su Qingyue picked it up and looked closely. She couldn't help but stroke her husband's face with her fingertips. Memories of the past flooded her mind. Honey, I miss you. All night, Su Qingyue pondered how to make me change my mind. After all, she didn't have much time left, until she fell asleep in the early morning. One day, I went to the living room. Su Qingyue was nowhere to be seen. It was silent. A long time ago, this house stopped feeling like a home. I grabbed my car keys and headed straight to the office. At 9 a.m., the sunlight streaming through the window woke the stunning beauty in bed. Su Qingyue wanted to do as she used to, make breakfast and tie her husband's tie, but she had clearly missed her chance. Soon, she found a way to make it up. I walked into my office. Good morning, a lively voice rang out. Assistant Chen Qingqing had been an employee since the start of this small company. Chen Qingqing had been with me for so long, she naturally knew I was in a bad mood. She brewed a cup of tea and served it. Product sales were steadily rising, so what was he worrying about? While I was drinking tea, Chen Qingqing stole a glance at my face, and then quickly looked away. I put down the teacup and started working. There has been a lot of work at the company lately. I didn't get a break even by noon. It's time to eat. Health is your most important asset, Chen Qingqing said as she laid out a delicious meal. Have you eaten? Of course, otherwise how would I have the energy to serve the boss? As she said this, a noble, cold figure walked into the office. Su Qingyue had obviously rushed here from her company. In her business attire, she carried an air of authority, the perfect image of an ice-cold female CEO. She was holding an exquisite lunchbox. The purpose of her visit was self-evident. The office fell silent for a moment. I didn't expect Su Qingyue to come. Seeing Chen Qingqing setting up my meal, Su Qingyue felt a sense of displacement. Coupled with that ambiguous remark, a sense of crisis arose. You go take a break first, I said to Chen Qingqing. Okay. Chen Qingqing didn't expect a casual remark to be overheard by the boss's wife. Now, it would be hard to explain. She hoped they wouldn't fight over it. Only the couple remained in the office. After a moment of silence, Su Qinyue said softly, "Honey, I brought you lunch. I hope it's to your liking." The moment she spoke, her authority vanished. The female CEO became a considerate wife. She opened the tiers of the exquisite wooden lunchbox. They were all dishes I liked. Su Qinyue saw her husband stand up from his desk, as if he were coming to eat. She felt a surge of joy, but she was soon disappointed. With 2 lunches on the table, I chose the other one. I asked indifferently, "Why the sudden change of heart about the divorce? Are you worried about the division of assets? If that's the reason, you can rest assured, I can support myself. I won't come after what you have." "Honey, I never wanted to divorce you, really." There wasn't a hint of trust in those words. If the 24-year-old Su Qinyue had said that to me, back then, we had just gotten married, and she still loved me. I remember our marriage had problems, precisely because of the gap in money and status. Now, my wife had dropped her cold act, as if returning to our early days. If not for money, then what else? Su Qinyue wanted to argue, but found she had no defense. In their past arguments, she had indeed selfishly wanted me to yield to her. That's what led to the situation today. "Honey, whether you believe it or not, I never intended to divorce you. In all these years, you're the only one in my heart. I don't expect you to let go of your grudge immediately. After all, I've caused you a lot of grief over the years. If you have any requests or want any compensation, just ask. As long as I can do it, I won't refuse." Facing his wife's soft words, I remained unmoved. I didn't even give her a basic chance. I just continued eating lunch. Being treated like strangers was like salt on a wound. It brought waves of piercing pain. She remembered the sweet times when they first married. The dinner table was never silent. They would talk back and forth, sharing the day's events without ever getting bored. Occasionally, I would serve her food. It was beautiful. But now, they could barely say 2 words to each other. Su Qinyue knew that words could only express an attitude. To win back her husband's heart, she needed to act. After watching me finish lunch, Su Qinyue had to leave. She had stayed too long. It will only make her husband more annoyed with her. It's better to wait until he gets home tonight, then take it step by step. "Hubby, don't work too hard. You should rest when it's time to rest. Your health is more important. Don't worry about money. We have enough at home." He glanced back reluctantly at his mother-in-law. Before leaving, "I just treated it as white noise. If I spent my wife's money, I'd likely have to endure her cold treatment in silence. I wouldn't have the right or the courage to ask for a divorce. Personal independence comes from financial independence. It is the foundation for everyone. Like last night, I could bring up divorce without hesitation. Besides, I've never been someone who values money above all else. If I valued money the most, I could have just broken up with Su Qinyue back then, and used my first pot of gold to start a business, instead of spending it on her mother." "CEO, back to the company?" the female driver asked cautiously. "To the shopping mall." Su Qinyue looked out the window. Today is a special day, their wedding anniversary. She wanted to prepare some gifts herself. The luxury car started slowly, heading straight toward Jinling's busiest shopping mall. Su Qinyue personally bought everything for me from head to toe. Clothes, ties, leather shoes, luxury watches, and even luxury cars. The sales staff silently envied the man who wasn't there. Having such a heavenly beautiful wife is one thing, but she's so thoughtful too. For instance, she bought 2 sports cars at once. Just because the latest model needs to be pre-ordered, she bought the in-stock ones to drive for now. Is that even possible? Clearly, she's spending money on me. But Su Qinyue felt happier than if she were spending it on herself. The phone rang, but it wasn't a call from the person she was expecting. "Qinyue, are you free lately? My resort business. Would you be interested in experiencing it with me?" A very pleasant voice came from the other end, one that was captivating. It was a call from her friend, Shen Wanji. They had collaborated once before. Since they got along well, they became good friends. But now, Su Qinyue only wanted to be by her husband's side. A trip to the resort would take at least 2 or 3 days. She didn't want to leave and wasn't willing to. "Sorry, I have something very important to do during this time. I won't go." Have fun. Is the company facing difficulties? Su Qingyue suddenly thought that a charming, radiant woman might understand men better. Wanji, how do you win back a man's heart? She thought someone as noble and charming as Shen Wanji, a woman with such grace who must have many pursuers, would know better how to read a man's mind. In fact, Shen Wanji had only ever loved one person. She turned away all those pursuers. She was even more innocent than Su, the married woman, jumping from business to relationship issues. It was quite a leap, but that didn't stop Shen Wanji from breaking into a charming smile. Everyone loves some relationship gossip. Shen Wanji didn't expect Su Qingyue to have this kind of trouble. Logically, with such an incredibly beautiful wife, the husband should be showering her with love. Could he be a cold man? As expected of a female CEO, she's quick thinking. She soon identified the problem. Shen Wanji began to draw from her pitifully small amount of experience. She started to explain. Qingyue, are you usually too cold, making your partner lose hope in the marriage? Why bother with reserve and pride between husband and wife? You are each other's closest people in this world. Lower your guard and fulfill your duties as a wife. Perhaps after feeling your tenderness, his heart that wants to leave will slowly soften. Shen Wanji's words woke Su Qingyue up. Extraordinary times call for extraordinary measures. Like last night, when her husband refused to sleep in the master bedroom, she had been stuck in one way thinking. As the saying goes, if the mountain will not come to me, I will go to the mountain. If he won't return to the master bedroom, then she can sleep where he is. Even if he tries to chase me away, it doesn't matter. Wait until hubby is asleep, then quietly use the spare key to open the door. Sometimes, respecting someone too much means you'll never get close to them. Besides, the two aren't divorced yet. A husband and wife sharing a bed, isn't that only natural? I understand. Shen Wanji saw her past experience could help, and she couldn't help but relax. Back when she had a conflict with the person she liked, as long as she softened her stance, said some nice things, coaxed him, and bought some pastries he liked, things would usually blow over. Shen Wanji also knew, this trick only works on someone who still loves you. Don't worry too much, Qingyue. If you take the initiative, it's impossible for your partner not to reconcile. The thing is, even loving couples have times when they argue. The difference lies in the attitude and method of handling conflicts. Shen Wanji's words gave Su Qingyue a shot of confidence. Much of the doubt in her heart vanished. Next, Su Qingyue switched from the relationship channel back to business. As a reincarnated female CEO, she knew more or less what was going to happen. There were some opportunities she couldn't handle alone. She needed to find a partner to plan together. The two female CEOs chatted for about half an hour. Before hanging up, Su Qingyue looked at her exquisite wristwatch. It was 2 p.m., 4 more hours until she sees him. In a villa by the mountains and water, a noble and charming beauty put down her phone. She gazed solemnly out the window. The news Su Qingyue revealed was like a bombshell. There was no reason for her not to cooperate. But Shen Wanji couldn't bring herself to be happy. Having a chance to win back a loved one is truly a luxurious worry. What about him? Does he hate himself, or has he already forgotten me? Shen Wanjun feared that he hated her, and also feared that he had forgotten her. Either way, it was a punishment. But she personally felt that whatever he did was right. After all, she was the one who broke the promise and abandoned him. At this moment, Shen Wanjun was so beautiful, and yet so lonely, like a falling flower in the wind. In the office, a beautiful and lively figure walked in uneasily. "Boss, you didn't have a fight with your wife, did you?" She sounded very unsure of herself. Her casual complaining had been caught red-handed by his wife. What was that about not having the energy to serve without a full stomach? Listen to that, how exactly is she serving? Chen Qingqing indeed has feelings for me, but the gap between a boss and a subordinate is a chasm. The wedding ring on my hand is an even more solid barrier, constantly reminding Chen Qingqing that this man, a handsome man, is just for looking at, and not for doing things she shouldn't do, getting paid while being near someone she likes. And most importantly, he doesn't put pressure on her like some other bosses. Chen Qingqing, oh Chen Qingqing, what more could you be dissatisfied with? One should be content to be happy. She put her extra energy into her work. If assistants had rankings, Chen Qingqing would be the best. With her around, she can help share a lot of my pressure. No, I looked through another proposal provided by an employee. I used to think fighting was a big problem, but the biggest problem is not even wanting to fight anymore. Chen Qingqing saw her boss was the same as ever. His expression remained calm. In a normal situation, wouldn't a wife hear something misleading, insist on getting to the bottom of it, and then the husband, to avoid trouble, have no choice but to fire her? Strangely, Chen Qingqing was on edge, afraid that the next second I would invite her to dinner, to eat the famous dish, fried squid, getting fired. Having struggled for so many years, I naturally knew what Chen Qingqing was worried about. I put down the proposal and said, work hard, and don't overthink things. Chen Qingqing's mood was like a roller coaster. She didn't expect this matter to just pass like this. The sun set behind the mountains. The work at hand was finished. There was no need for overtime tonight. I drove home. In the parking spot, I turned on the music player. I listened to a few old songs before getting out. Perhaps from the moment the marital relationship started to crack, the car became my second home. Upon entering, I saw a scene different from usual. Sumptuous dishes were laid out on the dining table. The faint aroma of the food was enough to touch the heart of anyone returning home. Su Qingyue was waiting for me. It was less cold, and more warm, just like when we were newlyweds. Hubby, you've had a long day. Let's eat first. She walked over gracefully, wanting to help me take off my suit jacket. Unfortunately, compared to long-ingrained habits, she was still too slow. I took it off myself in just a few seconds. When was the last time my wife helped me dress and tied my tie? I've forgotten. Su Qingyue had no chance to help, but she wasn't discouraged. Dinner time was the only time the couple met. Since they started sleeping in separate rooms, since they don't even sleep in the same room, communication naturally decreased. They say sleeping apart fades the feelings between a couple, and it makes sense. Today is our wedding anniversary, I remember. But with our relationship in this state, there's no longer any need to celebrate. Su Qingyue remembered too. She didn't dare mention it. If this marriage has become what it is today, she is definitely the culprit. The words, wedding anniversary, coming from her mouth, seemed like a bad joke. I focused all my attention on the delicious food. The nanny's cooking had improved a lot. A female CEO wouldn't have such skills, nor did she need them, so I ate without any guilt. Seeing that her husband had no desire to talk to her, a flash of sadness crossed Su Qingyue's bright eyes. You reap what you sow, and this fruit is just too bitter. Hubby, I bought you some gifts, see if you like them, she said softly. A sports car key was placed on the table. The unique logo made it stand out. And a luxury watch in an exquisite box. Under the lights, the dial sparkled brilliantly. They were both very expensive. I only glanced at them, before turning my eyes back to the food. I have my own car and watch. Although they aren't as high-end, they're good enough. What have you decided about the divorce? The indifferent tone felt like a needle to Su Qingyue's heart. She avoided answering, deliberately ignoring the topic. It's not a waste for a wife to spend money on her husband. What's mine is yours. Back then, hubby, didn't you also spend all your savings for me? If you don't like this watch, or this brand of sports car, we can just buy others. I put down my chopsticks and said, so you still remember the past. Sometimes I wonder if you've forgotten. A pleasant ringtone saved the speechless Su Qingyue, giving the freezing atmosphere a moment of relief. Seeing it was a call from my mother, I picked it up immediately. While calming my emotions, I exhaled a breath of frustration and calmed down. Mom, have you had dinner yet? Yes, your dad and I are walking in the park. The seasons are changing now. Take care of your health. Don't I know my mother? Calling at this time. 9 times out of 10, she's calling to urge us to have children. I couldn't keep the divorce a secret from my father, but I haven't told my mother. My mother is in poor health. She has asthma and is very sentimental. Telling her about the divorce won't help at all. She might even worry so much she can't sleep at night. It's better for her to find out later rather than sooner. As for my father, after understanding the situation, he smoked 2 cigarettes, and said, if you're unhappy, then just divorce. My son has grown up. He has his own ideas about many things. Since the other party is powerful and looks down on my son, why bother clinging on? Isn't life about maintaining one's dignity? My unaware parents were still pushing for a grandchild. Before even exchanging a few words, the conversation turned back to the grandchild. Is there any news of Xiao Yu's pregnancy? You'll both be 30 in a few years. It's time to have a child, Mom, I don't have a plan yet. You should just enjoy your retirement. Don't worry so much. She's busy with work. And I'm busy with work too. I used a classic excuse. It seemed solid, but was actually as flimsy as paper. Meanwhile, Su Qinyue was carefully listening to our conversation. In the quiet environment, she could still faintly hear something. Facing her son's evasiveness, Fong Lan lost her patience. Give the phone to my daughter-in-law. She's taking a shower. It's not convenient for her to talk. Hearing this, Su Qinyue felt extremely dejected. She seemed to have lost her rights as a wife. Yet I didn't feel I was wrong. Rights and obligations go hand in hand. When I suggested having a child before, Su Qinyue refused. Everything was clearly agreed upon before marriage. If she had agreed, that child would be calling us mom and dad by now. We might not have reached the point of divorce. Besides, this was just a call to pressure us to have kids. She didn't want a child anyway. In my eyes, I wasn't depriving her of her rights, but solving a problem for her. Finally, with my father's intentional interference, the phone call finally ended. What did Mom say? Nothing. I've finished dinner and I'm going to wash up, leaving Su Qinyue alone, with the sports car keys on the table, and the luxury watch. She had no appetite for dinner. Half an hour later, Su Qinyue's phone rang. Fong Lan had timed her call. Mom, how has your health been lately? I'm doing well, Xiao Yu. When do you and my son plan to have a child? It's not that I'm being nosy, but it's not good to wait too long. You're already 27. If you wait a few more years, the risks of childbirth will be much higher. Yes, Mom, you're right. I'll discuss this with my husband later. Hearing her daughter-in-law say this, Fong Lan's worries were put to rest. They chatted briefly before hanging up, to avoid disturbing the couple. In Su Qinyue's eyes, her mother-in-law had always been very understanding, never interfering in their household affairs. This was the first time she'd been pressured about having children. Indeed, it was time for her and her husband to have a child. The thought was beautiful, but implementation was full of difficulties. She prepared her clothes and walked into the bathroom. The steam obscured her radiant beauty. The woman in the mirror was still so noble and elegant, as beautiful as a goddess. Su Qinyue couldn't help but think of Qin Qingqing, whom she saw in the office. Her looks and figure were not as good as hers, but she had a certain lively aura. Such people are rare. After a tiring day, you look up and she appears before you. Talking to her for a bit makes you feel much more relaxed. Su Qinyue suddenly felt a sense of crisis. In the past, she naturally wouldn't have feared such a potential threat, but her husband's heart was no longer with her. Unlike the early days of their marriage when they were inseparable, and deeply in love, no matter how beautiful she was, it's useless if he doesn't love her. And her intuition told her that the assistant's intentions weren't simple. She had more or less some feelings for her husband. For someone who has experienced loss and retrieval, possessiveness becomes infinitely magnified. They cannot tolerate any flaws or surprises. A plan quietly formed in her mind. She had to make Qin Qingqing resign. After my night run, I showered as usual, then turned on my computer, completely unaware that my mother had bypassed me, and called Su Qinyue to discuss things. Clearly a married man, yet living like a bachelor. In the long silent classmate group chat, someone suddenly suggested a reunion. I glanced at the messages, but didn't express any opinion. I quietly exited. After reading the news for a while, drowsiness washed over me. I turned off the lights and went to sleep. In a daze, I heard the doorknob turn. Faint footsteps entered. The night light was too dim to see who it was clearly, making that graceful silhouette seem even more hazy. By the faint glow of the night light, Su Qinyue could vaguely see her husband's back. She slowly approached the bed and hugged him from behind. A sense of peace arose within her. I immediately woke up from my drowsiness. A fragrant, soft, and warm body was pressed against me. It felt softer than a cloud. I knew it was Su Qinyue. Given her cold personality, I thought, she would leave if I ignored her. I didn't expect her to be so proactive. Was this still the same Su Qinyue who, after gaining power, held wealth and status in her hands? Since my husband doesn't want to sleep in the master bedroom, then I'll sleep with you. At this moment, Su Qinyue wanted to say a few more words, but the fair arm she placed around her husband's waist was moved away. Her arms felt empty. If you won't sleep, I'm going to the master bedroom. Don't follow me. Thanks to you, I've long since gotten used to sleeping alone. I can't sleep with you here. I got up and left the bed. Soon, Su Qingyue was the only one left in the bedroom. She felt somewhat desolate. A cold heart doesn't freeze overnight. Thinking it would be easy to win back her husband's heart was far too optimistic. This was also within her expectations. Even so, hearing those words of rejection, a wave of disappointment washed over her. Su Qingyue couldn't help but remember, when she was the one who wanted to sleep in separate rooms, her husband must have felt even worse. Today is my retribution. I deserve this. I'm sorry. Su Qingyue pulled the quilt, still smelling of her husband, into her arms. Thinking back to that brief embrace just now, she felt she was the world's biggest fool, personally tearing a good marriage apart, and deeply wounding her husband's heart. Why did she try to make the one who loved her surrender? Sometimes winning in love is actually losing. Although the quilt in her arms was soft, it wasn't her beloved. It couldn't fill her heart. When she hugged me from behind just now, Su Qingyue deeply regretted the decision to sleep separately. She didn't grasp the happiness within reach, but pushed it away instead. She suppressed her sorrow. She didn't dare think about it anymore. The more she thought, the more it hurt. The more she thought, the more she felt she shouldn't have. It was all full of regrets. Su Qingyue had prepared further plans, but tonight wasn't the time to act. Her husband's patience with her was exhausted. Take it slow. The insomniac Su Qingyue, relying on my remaining scent, slowly fell asleep. She had the same dream again. I still couldn't escape my fate, falling in a pool of blood, even if the phone dropped. The next morning, my biological clock woke me up on time. After washing up, I returned to the guest room to put on a suit. Su Qingyue woke up even earlier than me. Her silky black hair flowed down. Her long hair reached her waist. The morning light shining through the window cast a faint glow over her, like a dream. It was as if last night's conflict never happened. Hubby, did you sleep well last night? I've prepared your clothes for you. A suit was laid out by the bed. I ignored it. Self-reliance is the way to go. There were some new clothes in the closet. I skillfully found the ones I usually wear. Su Qingyue could only watch my movements. I didn't even bother to reply. So how could I let her tie my tie? Thinking back to our honeymoon phase, she would tie my tie every day. Then I'd give her a kiss in return. Sometimes it would even delay our morning. Later, Su Qingyue became busier. As the company got on track, the gap in wealth and status grew wider. As a wife, she was no longer the same. She became cold and used various means to dominate the marriage. Now that she wants to exercise her rights as a wife, her husband ignores her. Fully dressed, I looked handsome and composed, exuding masculine charm. Hubby, if you think I don't want to divorce, because of property division issues, I can transfer all the company shares to you. After all, I am a businessman too. I understand how much wealth that statement represents. But my hand steadily adjusted my cuffs. That's your property. It has nothing to do with me. If you really mean it, then sign the divorce agreement from last time. Su Qingyue could never agree to that. I drove away after breakfast. Good morning, boss. Chen Qingqing always seemed so lively. Make a cup of tea, I ordered. After escaping trouble, she worked even harder. Little did she know the real trouble was yet to come. At the end of the workday, a luxury car slowly pulled up beside her. The window rolled down. Chen Qingqing knew she was doomed. Inside a cafe, Su Qingyue sat across from her. She observed the other woman calmly, feeling somewhat relieved. Although she liked the boss, she hadn't done anything inappropriate. Don't be afraid. Loving someone isn't a crime. After a long silence, Su Qingyue spoke. Do you want to change jobs? Chen Qingqing listened as this unbelievably beautiful woman laid out her terms. She mentioned a well-known company and a management position, not to mention the salary. For a woman, working for a cosmetics group, is like a man working for a game company. Chen Qingqing was tempted, but only for a moment. I'm sorry, I don't have any plans to change jobs for now, nor do I have the ability for this position. Thank you for your kindness. Is the money not enough? Su Qingyue took a sip of coffee. She coughed twice. She must have caught a cold last night. Actually, you don't need to be so hostile toward me. Your husband and I have a strictly professional relationship. Nothing more. Last time in the office, what you heard was purely a misunderstanding. In any case, the boss has such a beautiful wife like you. How could he be interested in me? If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. Chen Qingqing left calmly, but her heart was racing. For the first time, she felt the pressure from a legal wife. Just because of one joke, she came to offer various generous terms. Isn't this possessiveness a bit too strong? But Chen Qingqing felt guilty, because she really did like me. In the cafe, Su Qingyue sighed softly. It seemed the other woman had indeed developed feelings for her husband. Otherwise, with such terms, how could she fail to poach a mere assistant? Let's go home first. Missing him in the quiet of the night. I have a habit of exercising, so I sleep quite soundly. The bedroom door was opened again. A beautiful and petite figure appeared. It was Su Qingyue. I didn't refuse her hug this time. A sleeping person cannot refuse. She reached out and gently stroked her husband's face. Her bright eyes were full of tenderness and love. Su Qingyue was not satisfied with just this. Slowly approaching, so close that their noses almost touched, a soft kiss fell. Time seemed to be flowing backward, returning to those sweetest days at the beginning. A couple sharing a bed. Su Qingyue is a light sleeper. Occasionally, she wakes up earlier than me. During those times, she couldn't help herself, stealing a kiss from her sleeping husband. Then she would gaze at him closely. She could never look at him enough. She wanted her to be the first thing I saw when I woke up. If she was caught stealing a kiss by her husband, punishment would be inevitable. Looking back now, we were truly inseparable. She wanted to hold me tighter, but feared waking me, keeping a delicate distance. Hubby, please love me one more time, okay? Since you're not speaking, I'll take it as a yes. Su Qingyue murmured softly, seeking comfort through self-deception. She didn't dare think of an irreversible divorce. And then I would meet other women. The person who once loved her so much would just become someone else's husband. All those beautiful past moments would vanish, as if they had never loved at all. The most surprising thing in the world is finding what was once lost. A false alarm. The most heart-wrenching thing is not knowing how to cherish him. What originally belonged to you was given away because of your own mistakes. The night is deep and people are weary. The loved one is right by the side. Su Qingyue unconsciously relaxed her mind, and drifted into a dream. This time, she didn't have that nightmare of me lying in a pool of blood. Instead, she felt trapped in a raging fire. So uncomfortable. I woke up on time in the morning. Looking closely, there was someone else in my arms. Her hair was a bit messy, wet with sweat. It was during the change of seasons, when the flu was going around. Su Qingyue was already coughing a bit yesterday. But she didn't take it seriously, busy with work during the day, trying to find ways to win her husband back at night. Back and forth, she was physically and mentally exhausted. She has a fever, I frowned. She wouldn't let go of me, even through the clothes. I could feel the heat of her slender body. An unnatural flush appeared on her beautiful face. I reached my hand to her jade-white forehead, burning hot. Wake up. Su Qingyue was woken up. Her bright eyes were misty like water, with a touch of feverish red at the corners. Hubby, I feel so miserable. Sick. Su Qingyue was incredibly weak, submissive and obedient, completely different from her usual cold persona. After being married for so many years, I had seen this side of her long ago. I felt no emotion. I sighed. Of course you're miserable with a fever. Get up, I'll take you to the hospital. Su Qingyue's remaining logic lamented her bad luck. She fell ill before her plan even started. Now, wouldn't she be a burden in her husband's eyes? He must be even more indifferent now. The intense feeling from the fever made her crave my embrace. No need for the hospital. Call the private doctor. The number is in my phone. I took it. I tried entering the password on the bedside phone. It was still the last 6 digits of our wedding date. Opened the contacts and made the call. After the other party asked about the symptoms, they respectfully said they would arrive soon. Drink some water first. I helped my wife up from the bed to give her water. The places I touched were soft and hot. Hubby, I'm cold. Su Qingyue wanted more care. I just helped her lie down and tucked her in. Before long, a professional and capable female doctor arrived with a medical kit, completed the checkup and procedures, prescribed medicine, and she took it. She told me, as the husband, that Su Qingyue had a fever caused by the flu. She needs plenty of rest. Drowsiness after taking the medicine is normal. After explaining the precautions, the doctor took her leave. I went to see her out. After being away for a while, Su Qingyue, in bed, thought, I had just left her like that. to go to work at the company. A sick person is more fragile physically and mentally than usual. Uneasy mind, full of doubt and suspicion. Now, Su Qingyue was no longer the high and mighty, ice-cold CEO of the group. She was just a feverish wife, wanting to lean on her husband. What are you doing? I returned to the master bedroom, only to see Su Qingyue throwing off the covers. Lie down properly. My tone was commanding, showing no tenderness. Hubby, can you please not go to work today? Stay home and be with me, okay? Su Qingyue's appearance at this moment possessed a beauty that evoked pity. Imagine the usually frost-cold CEO, whose words were now full of pleading, as if she couldn't leave you for a second. You are her whole world. I realized she was truly delirious from the fever. Today is the weekend, she doesn't have to work, and I am off too. Hubby, let's not get a divorce, okay? After Su Qingyue lay down, I threw the empty medicine packaging into the trash can. No answer was given to that question. In the year we got married, Su Qingyue also had a fever. Back then, he leaned in her arms, talking about being together forever, and loving her forever. But after all the ups and downs, that gentle wife seemed to have changed, like an iceberg that never melts. So I've become immune. I don't believe a word she says now. The medicine began to take effect. Su Qingyue felt very sleepy. She really wanted to sleep. She struggled to wait for her husband's answer, but it never came. She fell asleep in a daze, not knowing how long she slept. Su Qingyue found herself covered in sweat, but the fever had subsided. She got up and looked around. The sunset glow shone through the window. It was originally a beautiful sight, but in Su Qingyue's eyes, it felt even lonelier. I was nowhere to be seen. She was alone in the master bedroom. Hubby, she called out tentatively. No one responded. It felt like being abandoned by the whole world. Fortunately, after a moment, footsteps approached from afar. A tall figure appeared at the door. Su Qingyue's heart settled. I silently felt her forehead. It wasn't hot. Then I brought a bowl of meat porridge, supervised the patient's routine of eating and taking medicine. Su Qingyue didn't expect her husband to be like before, feeding her porridge and medicine by hand. I cleared the medicine packaging as usual, took the bowl, and left. The room returned to silence. I went to the side bedroom's bathroom to shower. When I came out, I found Su Qingyue had followed me from the master bedroom. She was carrying a quilt, standing by the bed looking fragile and beautiful, afraid I would leave her alone tonight. Even in the nights before she got sick, she couldn't resist missing her husband. She needed him even more now that she was sick. The doctor said the fever might return tonight. Can we sleep together tonight? I didn't want to argue with a patient. Dried my hair with a towel. Seeing her husband didn't refuse, Su Qingyue's heart was relieved. Suddenly, a phone rang, breaking the couple's solitude. It was Shenwanji. At this moment, she was soaking in a hot spring at her own resort. Her hair was up, noble and elegant. The mist and the water surface made many things look blurry, inviting imagination. Her eyes were mesmerizing. Every movement was breathtakingly beautiful. In a sense, she was more captivating than Su Qingyue. An unmeltable iceberg only inspires awe, making others feel inferior. But for a beauty like her, one charming look could stir desire. While inspecting this time, Shenwanji also gave herself a break, soaking in the hot spring. With nothing to do, she called Su Qingyue. Yeah, the hot spring here is nice. Too bad you didn't come. How's the relationship problem going? A soul-stirring voice came through the phone, mixed with the sound of water. One could imagine a scene that would cause a nosebleed. Su Qingyue looked at me, seeing my attention focused on the laptop. She spoke. I've made some progress by chance. Why does your voice sound so weak? Are you sick? Shenwanji paused for a moment, putting the clues together. Good. The progress by chance her friend mentioned, meant being cared for while sick. No wonder she spoke so cautiously. Her husband must be right beside her. Not convenient to say more. Then get some rest. I'll visit when I get back. Bye-bye. Shenwanji hung up. She sighed with emotion. She was the type of person who felt relieved. Seeing her friends happy, Shenwanji had asked her female assistant how she handled conflicts with her husband. The assistant said to buy some sexy nightgowns. She originally wanted to share this experience with Su Qingyue, because for someone as cold as her, reservedness was in her bones. She probably wouldn't stoop to or even think of using such a method. But for a married couple, it's just a bit of fun, not something vulgar. If doing this could win back a lover's heart, it would be truly fortunate. Should one wait until the leaves wither and flowers fade? Wait until everything has changed to regret it? The feeling of losing a true love is too painful. She had experienced it long ago, and didn't want Su Qinyue to repeat her mistake. Shen Wanji soaked quietly in the pool, lost in thought. Those precious memories flashed through her mind bit by bit. Still clear after all these years, Shen Wanji suddenly remembered. Back when she had a conflict with him, she would whisper soft words in his ear. His ears would turn beet red. At that innocent age, just a little bit of close contact was enough to save her for a lifetime. He was so easy to coax, but I just abandoned him like that. He must hate you. Maybe you don't deserve happiness in this life. The beauty in the pool said to her reflection in the water. All these years she wanted to find him, but feared his resentful eyes. Moreover, Shen Wanji couldn't forgive herself. A sigh full of lifelong sorrow faded with the wind. I closed the laptop, noticing the person on the bed was very cautious on the phone, as if she didn't want me to hear the conversation, keeping secrets from me, but I felt nothing. Since we started sleeping in separate rooms, we never checked each other's phones again. You can't keep someone who wants to leave. I understood this principle long ago. Seeing her husband look over, Su Qinyue worried he might misunderstand. She explained, it was a call from a good friend. He invited me to his resort. She added that the friend was female. I didn't argue about it, turned off the lights and went to bed. Sometimes things just happen by chance. Just one more question could have led to a different outcome. The dim room was filled with silence. After we started sleeping in separate rooms, I got used to sleeping alone. I fell asleep with my back to Su Qinyue. This scene didn't look like a married couple at all. The bed in the guest room wasn't as big as the master bed. It was just big enough for two people. There wasn't much room to move around. Honey, yesterday, Mom called to nag us about having a baby. Su Qinyue hugged her husband from behind, feeling the sense of security from my broad back. The closer she got, the more she regretted the decision to sleep in separate rooms. She had missed me during many of those nights, but she couldn't let go of her pride to make amends. Over time, minor issues turned into major problems, and the relationship fell apart. She felt that so many nights had been wasted. She could have had a warm embrace, but chose solitude and loneliness instead. Self-inflicted regret is the most painful of all. I don't want to talk about this topic anymore. There's no need to talk about it. Back when I wanted children, I tried everything to persuade her, but she was unwilling. Everyone's emotional energy is limited. Once it's drained, it's over. That was then, this is now. Now, I'm actually glad we don't have children. I can come and go as I please in this marriage, without any strings attached. Su Qinyue also knew that she had hurt her partner too deeply. Accepting the resentment coming from her husband, she said to herself, I'll prepare for pregnancy once I'm better. Then, if you want two, I'll have two. A boy and a girl, the perfect pair. Su Qinyue hugged her husband, feeling a stir in her heart. Unfortunately, the spirit was willing but the flesh was weak. Although the fever had broken, she still felt weak and had little energy. They hadn't been intimate for a long time. Her gentle call of honey was full of tenderness. It was hard to imagine this came from an ice queen. I ignored her whispering. I closed my eyes to sleep, but my wife's slender hands were restless. Even just brushing against the clothes could bring about an indescribable sensation, stirring things up. I guess you're feeling better. If that's the case, go back to the master bedroom. I turned around, and grabbed Su Qinyue's snow-white wrist. For a husband and wife to share a bed is only natural. I don't want to go back, and I can't be away from you. Weren't you the one who wanted to sleep in separate rooms? Now you're speaking as if you were right all along. I was wrong. My hot breath inadvertently brushed against Su Qinyue's delicate earlobe, making her tingle. Honey, if you're uncomfortable, I can help you. The reborn Su Qinyue wanted to fulfill her duties as a wife, but I rejected her without hesitation. I don't need it. Su Qinyue felt an indescribable sense of loss, but she understood that when she demanded separate rooms, it had been a blow to her husband's self-esteem. It's okay. She would be more proactive once she was fully recovered. I didn't speak. The room became completely silent. Su Qinyue wasn't feeling well, and soon became drowsy. With her loved one by her side, she slept more soundly. My breathing gradually leveled out, Half an hour later, I also fell asleep. In the dead of night, at 3 a.m., the high fever returned. Su Qinyue called out to me in a daze, "Honey." I woke up quickly. Feeling her delicate body burning up behind me, I turned around and looked at her by the light of the night lamp. Su Qinyue's brow was furrowed, her face unnaturally flushed. Fine beads of sweat covered her fair forehead. I hurried out of bed, turned on the light, and gave her medicine. I felt her forehead again, it was burning hot. "I'll go get a wet towel, wait here." Before I could even stand up, my wife hugged me. "Honey, don't go anywhere, just stay by my side. I don't want to lose you again." Her muddled words seemed to hide a secret, but I wouldn't read too much into the words of someone with a fever. Su Qinyue refused to let go, as if she were holding on to her whole world. I looked at Su Qinyue in my arms. She hadn't been this clingy since a very, very long time ago. Perhaps when she recovers, she'll go back to how she was before. "Honey," she called out intermittently. Finally, an hour later, the fever subsided. I breathed a sigh of relief. I slowly laid the sleeping Su Qinyue down, and tucked her in. I checked her fair forehead over and over again. After confirming her temperature had dropped, I found myself unable to fall back asleep. I turned on my phone, and saw a post from a close friend. It was full of photos of a cute little girl. She looked so adorable. My peers already have happy families and successful careers, while I am stuck in the middle, with a marriage that's a complete mess. Sometimes I wonder what my life would be like if I hadn't met Su Qinyue. What kind of life would it have been? If I had taken my first pot of gold and left the team, my achievements today would probably be extraordinary. Perhaps I would have met a gentle and virtuous woman, and had a cute daughter just like my friend. Su Qinyue was the first to wake up in the morning. I had turned over at some point, and happened to be facing her. So, the first thing she saw was her husband's face. A sense of happiness welled up in her heart. The haziness from the fever has faded significantly. I want to reach out and touch him, but I'm afraid to wake up and lose him. Su Qinyue remembers roughly what happened last night. The most vivid memory is the feeling of snuggling in her husband's arms. The more she reflects, the more Su Qinyue feels how wrong her past actions were. Between a husband and wife, they are meant to be the closest people in the world, supporting each other as equals, with no distinction between yours and mine, because parents cannot stay with you forever, for the rest of your life. Only your spouse truly knows your needs. At 9 o'clock, I woke up as well. "Good morning." Su Qinyue's voice was full of tenderness. I didn't respond. I just reached out and touched her forehead. After washing up, I brought her breakfast. Nutritious and easy-to-swallow meat porridge. Su Qinyue understood that this husbandly care, this consideration, was for her as a patient, not as his wife. After breakfast and medication, she asked me to bring the laptop from the table. There were things that had to be handled. In the afternoon, she received a call from her brother, Su Mubai. "Mom and Dad miss you. Are you coming home for dinner?" Both families live in the same city. Su Qinyue goes home for a meal every weekend. "I'm not going back today. I'm feeling a bit unwell." "What's wrong?" Su Mubai asked. "I had a fever." "Has it broken yet?" "Yes." The phone was then handed to Mother Su. Su Qinyue chatted for a long time before hanging up. Mother Su was still worried. She sent her son, who had just returned, to check on her daughter. Half an hour later, the driver arrived with Su Mubai. I was discussing dinner plans with the nanny. Then, the doorbell rang. I went to answer it. I didn't expect my brother-in-law to show up. If I am the steady and reserved type, then Su Mubai is the type who is pampered, arrogant and full of himself. "Where's my sister?" He didn't call me brother-in-law. Ever since they became successful, the Su family has changed more than a little. Su Qinyue seems to have forgotten past favors. Or rather, excessive kindness has bred resentment. They refuse to acknowledge their past struggles, and look down on me now. "She's upstairs. She had a fever yesterday." Su Mubai went straight upstairs. He saw Qinyue at the head of the bed, looking pale. Her complexion was much worse than before. He hurried over to her. "Why are you here?" "Mom sent me." "Sister, are you feeling better? Do you need to go to the hospital?" "No need, the fever has already subsided." Su Mubai looked at the sickly Qinyue, his distress turning into frustration. Used to being high and mighty, he actually questioned me in a demanding tone. "Is this how you take care of my sister?" My expression darkened. Fine, putting on airs with me now, how ungrateful. The atmosphere in the bedroom instantly froze. It was on the verge of exploding. The world is full of strange things. Some repay a small favor with great gratitude. Others turn against you because they owe you too much. Heartless. I'm a good person with bad luck, meeting the second kind. Normally, when there's trouble with the wife's family, she should be the one to mediate. But I don't expect Su Chinua to take my side, nor do I intend to save her any face. Su Mubai, you've really grown bold. You don't even know the basics of respect. You don't even address me as your brother-in-law. Didn't you used to say it so easily? You come here just to interrogate me. One would think. I was a servant of your Su family. To be lectured by you. You aren't qualified. Even your mother wouldn't speak to me like this. I was cold and stern. They say killing one's father is an irreconcilable debt, but the kindness of saving a life, that's a debt hard to repay even as a servant. Su Mubai had the posture, but was speechless. What could he say? Before, I would give him face for Su Chinua's sake. I would give him some face. Now that it's come to this, I'm flipping the table. Want to argue? Which part of what I said is wrong? Now that you're successful, you forget your old humble ways. I stepped closer and questioned him mercilessly. Su Mubai held his breath, unable to speak. There's no logic when you're in the wrong. He turned to Su Chinua and said, Sister. Since he can't take care of you, let's go home. Don't stay here and suffer. Wait, hearing my voice. Su Mubai scoffed in his heart. Panicking now, aren't you? Look at what you've become. Are you even worthy of my sister? In this marriage where the woman is strong and the man is weak, he assumed I was the humble inferior, but I never lacked backbone. I looked at Su Chinua, at the head of the bed and said, sign the divorce papers before you leave. Once you're better, pick a time to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau for the certificate. Su Mubai thought he was hallucinating. He was already married, and knew how much weight the word divorce carried. What a loser. When angry, people say anything. He thinks he's qualified to talk about divorce. He's lost his sense of reality. The more he cares about his pride now, the more pathetic he'll be when he begs my sister. Su Mubai thought to himself, despising my lack of emotional control. Little did he know, I was perfectly calm. I knew exactly what I was doing. Su Chinua felt her heart sink like a stone. She had finally used her fever as an excuse to stop her husband from mentioning this temporarily. Now, things were escalating to the worst-case scenario. The two men in the room were at each other's throats. One was her husband. The other was her biological brother. He pressured her, Sister, let's go home. Mom and Dad are worried about you, too. Su Mubai's tone carried a hint of smugness. The Fama family was gathered at home. When things happened to Mubai, most people would side with family over reason. But you are all my family. It's time to be reasonable. Your brother-in-law has taken great care of me, bringing me porridge and water. When my fever returned last night, he got up in the middle of the night to look after me. Second, I know you care about me, but you shouldn't take your anger out on him. You're wrong, he's not some servant. You need to respect him. If you still don't understand, let me put it another way. You have a family of your own now. Would you want me interfering in your small family? Would you want me to use a condescending tone, to interrogate your wife? Su Mubai's smug fantasies, that after my anger subsided, I would realize I made a foolish decision, and come begging at his door, shattered into pieces. What's going on? Why has my sister's attitude changed so much? Sis, why are you siding with him? We are the family here. Mubai, do you think I'm siding with an outsider? Fine, I'll make a phone call right now, and scold your wife for no reason. When we fight, who will you side with? Su Mubai's momentum hit rock bottom. His wife is currently pregnant, and cannot handle any stress. The answer to who to side with was already obvious. Su Chinua cleared her throat twice, her voice softening slightly. You are in the wrong here. Apologize to your brother-in-law. But Su Mubai had been arrogant for years. He only acted humble. In front of his parents and his only sister, he valued his pride more than gold, especially seeing my indifferent attitude. He was filled with rage. Me, bow down to him? No way. I really don't care how much money he makes in a year. Whether Su Chinua leaves or stays, it doesn't matter. Sis, take care of your health. You're just colluding with him. Su Mubai threw those words out and left in a hurry. He kept a cold face as he brushed past me. Anyone watching would think, He was the one who had saved my life. Once Su Mubai returned home, it was time for the family dinner. Both parents were present. His mother, Wang Yun, asked, "Has your sister's fever broken? How is she doing?" Su Mubai described the situation, but emphasized my desire for a divorce, and the part where Su Qinyue protected me. According to his story, I was practically whipping Su Qinyue, while she suffered miserably yet still pleaded for me. In their minds, they had long deluded themselves into thinking that my kindness was repaid by marrying their daughter to me. Now, it seemed I was being overbearing and ungrateful. He wants a divorce. Does he really think my daughter is unwanted? Wang Yun spoke with anger. Mom, don't let it ruin your health. He's just talking. He's poor and pathetic. How could he ever bear to actually divorce my sister? He's just playing hard to get, taking advantage of the fact that my sister loves him. Wait until you is better. Next time he comes, I'll give him a piece of my mind. 90% of Wang Yun's anger was directed at me, and the remaining 10 was because her daughter was being foolish. How could I possibly compare to her son? Once Su Mubai left, only Su Qinyue and I remained in the bedroom. I didn't want to talk. I turned to walk out the door. Su Qinyue was afraid I was going to get the divorce papers. Ignoring the weakness from her illness, she immediately got out of bed. Just as her husband was about to walk out, Su Qinyue hugged him from behind. Don't be angry. I'll make Mubai apologize to you later. Or you can hit me or scold me, whatever you want. Just please don't divorce me. Let go, came a voice so flat that no emotion could be detected. Standing behind me, Su Qinyue couldn't see my face. Unease grew in her heart. 1,000 words felt powerless. I'll call Mubai right now and make him apologize. I felt the weight on my back lift, and I quietly walked out of the bedroom. The sound of a phone conversation came from behind me. In the clean and tidy study, there wasn't even an ashtray. Sometimes, having no bad habits isn't necessarily a good thing. About half an hour later, an insincere apology message arrived on my phone. The words were careless and rushed. I glanced at it and swiped it away, turning my gaze to the drifting white clouds outside. In the master bedroom, Su Qinyue finished her call, but her husband didn't return for a long time. She was anxious. She knew she hadn't fully recovered yet, so her husband wouldn't force her to sign the papers now, or take it to court just yet. But what about after she got better? How many days could a fever protect her? The more she thought, the more terrified she became. She had no confidence left. Pushed to her limit, Su Qinyue actually thought of making her illness last a little longer. A desperate, crazy idea. There are things far more cruel than a fever. Like losing something again right after you've regained it. It felt like being in hell, with no one to share her troubles with. She could only call Shenwanji to talk about this conflict between family members. Shenwanji on the other end stayed silent for a long time. Shenwanji on the other end pondered for a long time. Ruyan. Marriage is about building a new family with the person you love. If you don't put this new family first, then its demise is only a matter of time. Even in inheritance cases, a spouse has higher priority than siblings. In this world, you can rarely have your cake and eat it too. Since you can only choose one, choose what you truly want. Don't hesitate. Shenwanji's words hit a crucial point. The charming voice suddenly carried a hint of sadness, as if shifting from an outsider to a participant. He has no younger brother. He is an only child, but the choice he faced back then was even more cruel than Su Qinyue's current one, and much harder to make. Let's not talk about that anymore. I'm bored alone at the resort, so I'll be back tomorrow. Are you feeling any better? Send me your address, and I'll come visit you. Okay. She hung up the phone. With a little time left before dinner, she actually went into the ensuite bathroom quietly, and took a shower. Generally speaking, when you're drenched in sweat from a fever, changing your clothes is the most you should do. You shouldn't take a shower. When dinner time arrived, I finally appeared, still there to urge her to eat her porridge and take her medicine. But when I saw the pajamas Su Qinyue was wearing, I frowned. You took a shower? The usually ice-cold Su Qinyue actually didn't dare to meet her husband's stern gaze. I was all sweaty and sticky. I didn't think Su Qinyue would intentionally keep her fever from subsiding just to keep me here. How would that be any different from those lunatics who slit their wrists after a breakup? It's too insane. If we had just gotten married, I might have considered the possibility, but now. Heh. You shouldn't shower right after a fever breaks. Call your private doctor immediately after dinner, and have her come over again, okay? The scene in the bedroom suddenly turned into a cold beauty sitting obediently on the bed and taking a scolding, not daring to argue with her husband. Before dark, that capable female doctor visited again. She prescribed some medicine based on the situation, gave her instructions, and then left. Su Qingyue looked at the medicine, her beautiful eyes dimming slightly. It wasn't because of the bitterness. No bitterness compares to the pain of losing a loved one. Once she took the medicine, it wouldn't be suitable to have a child for a while. Yet, in her current situation, only pregnancy could use responsibility to keep her husband by her side. Night fell. After my shower, I busied myself at my laptop. Su Qingyue didn't disturb me. She just watched quietly. This feeling of being part of her husband's life again was wonderful. She picked up the thermos from the nightstand and poured a glass of water for her husband. It's not good to drink tea at night, or you won't be able to sleep. After handing him the water, seeing that her husband was just browsing the news and wasn't busy with work, her slender hands settled on my shoulders, intending to give me a massage. Go back to bed, I said, my eyes fixed on the computer screen, rejecting my wife's advance just like that. Su Qingyue paused, then obediently complied. She glanced at the beautiful woman on her husband's wallpaper, and, for the first time, doubted her own charm. She then recalled that after she initiated things last night, although her husband suppressed himself, his breathing had indeed grown much heavier, which gave her some small comfort. In truth, that wallpaper was just a random system recommendation. The night grew late. I had just lain down in bed, when a warm, jade-like body pressed against me, carrying a unique, delicate fragrance. Hubby, a friend is coming over tomorrow. Suit yourself. Perhaps it was that randomly suggested wallpaper of a fashion model that had piqued Su Qingyue's competitive spirit as a wife. She actually sat up, then leaned over, and gently planted a kiss on my cheek. I had just closed my eyes to sleep. I was exhausted from the night before, having only managed to sleep for a few hours after waking up at dawn. A moment later, I felt an incredibly soft touch, and the tingling sensation of her hair brushing past my earlobe. What are you doing now? Su Qingyue wore a stunning smile. Under the dim glow of the night lamp, she looked almost ethereal. Nothing, I just haven't kissed my husband in a long time. I couldn't help myself. I wondered if Su Qingyue's brain had been fried by the fever. Were these words really something her current, ice-cold self would say, even when we were newlyweds? Her affectionate attitude was only about this much. Su Qingyue expected her husband to be distant, but to her surprise, I turned around and reached out to touch her forehead. No fever. That one action, however, caused unexpected hurt. Go to sleep. You might not be tired, but I am. I withdrew my hand, not planning to pay her any more attention, but before I could turn away, Su Qingyue leaned against my chest. Her artistic, jade-like hands began to explore lingeringly through my clothes. After all, we had been married for years. How could she not know me at all? She pressed her lips against mine. The dim room filled with a thick sense of ambiguity. It was hot, but not the heat of a fever. It was a different kind of heat. My mood, however, was entirely different. I was already frustrated because of Su Mubai, and venting that anger on a sick person felt wrong. Besides, if I took my anger out on a patient, how would I be any different from him? But this patient seemed to have a muddled brain from the fever. Give her an inch and she'd take a mile, constantly pushing her luck. With lightning speed, I pulled away her hand that was warm with my body heat, decisively flipped over, and took control. One hand was enough to pin her. I held both her snowy white wrists above her head, pressing them against the soft pillow. Our eyes met. Su Qingyue's perfect figure was fully revealed at this moment, her exquisite curves rising and falling with her breath. Her beautiful face was no longer pale, but flushed with a rosy tint that was exceptionally moving. She felt 70% expectation and 30% nerves, wondering if her sick body would be able to fulfill her duties as a wife. But as long as her husband wanted it, she was willing. After all, she hadn't fulfilled her duties for a long time. She had been quite negligent in her obligations as a wife. Su Qingyue's mind was filled with 1,000 thoughts. She slowly closed her eyes, full of tenderness, adopting an inviting posture, ready for him to take her. Unfortunately, the passion she expected never came. If you keep this up, go to the master bedroom. By then, whether you have a fever or get sick, I won't bother with you." He threw down those cold words of command. Su Qingyue felt that intense, aggressive, burning aura leaving her, and moving away. The grip on her wrist also loosened. Only a faint red mark remained, recording what had just happened. An endless sense of loss welled up. Only then did she realize that her husband pinning her down had nothing to do with intimacy. It was out of anger. "Honey, are you still angry about what happened today? Don't be angry anymore. It's bad for your health. I'll have Mubai apologize to you in person another day." Su Qingyue pressed against him from behind. Her partner's body was burning hot, and his breathing was erratic. She was still charming, after all. She whispered in her husband's ear, "Honey, let's not get a divorce, okay? Starting from today, I will learn to be the perfect wife in your heart. Whether you want me to be obedient or understanding, as long as it's your request, I will strive to do everything except divorce. Even if you want me to slave away, I'm willing. After all, I owe you all of this. If you don't believe me, I can start tomorrow, by transferring my assets to you. This should be the most direct and sincere way to show it. Honey, please give me another chance, okay? For the sake of our years of feelings, for the sake of this marriage that has lasted until now." I didn't respond, acting as if I were asleep. "I know you won't agree, because the grievances you've suffered all these years are still there. It's okay, I will prove it through my actions. Good night." Qingyue wanted to give me a goodnight kiss, but having been warned just 2 minutes ago, she had to bury that thought in her heart. They had already kissed today anyway. While savoring that long-awaited kiss, she unknowingly drifted into a dream. In the dream, he and I were back to when we first married, inseparable every day, deeply in love. I pulled her into my arms, and kissed her flawless cheek. "Wife, should we have a child?" As soon as those words were said, Su Qingyue instantly realized it was a dream. She wanted to stay immersed in it, but it was too late. The dream began to shatter. Waking up, the ceiling of the room came into view. Su Qingyue quickly looked at the spot beside her. It was already empty. Her husband had already gotten up. It seemed he had finished washing up, and was currently getting dressed. I still didn't sleep well last night, because no one knew if Su Qingyue would do what she did the night before, making another move in the middle of the night, especially since she had even taken a bath. Fortunately, the night passed without incident. Su Qingyue pulled back the covers and got out of bed. "Honey, let me help you." I was putting on my undershirt and adjusting my cuffs, while Su Qingyue had already picked out my jacket and tie. She was a woman of her word. She did what she said. She was changing from that ice-cold female CEO into an obedient and understanding wife. Her nimble hands quickly tied the tie for her husband. While she straightened his collar, I didn't have time to argue with her. There was a problem with the supplier. Su Qingyue's illness was mostly gone, so I needed to make a trip myself. On the other side, a private jet was slowly landing at the airport. The waiting luxury cars were already prepared. A noble and glamorous woman appeared. Her female assistant opened the car door for her, and she sat inside, disappearing from everyone's sight. The nanny was relieved to see the couple coming down for breakfast together. She was very gratified. First, because their relationship showed signs of warming up, and second, because her job was safe. If the couple continued to clash like this, the nanny worried they might divorce in a fit of rage. Her high-paying job was in jeopardy. Su Qingyue took the nanny's place, and served a bowl of millet porridge for her husband. A beautiful morning, accompanied by the aroma of millet porridge. A sense of domestic warmth arose spontaneously. I ignored her the whole time, but Su Qingyue felt that having a quiet breakfast like this with her husband was also a kind of happiness. Only after experiencing life and death can one understand how precious this is. Unfortunately, the beautiful moment didn't last long, before it was broken by a phone ringing. A call from Wang Yun. "Mom, is Xiao Yu's health any better?" The conversation between mother and daughter reached my ears. I paused while eating the porridge. Inexplicably, I thought of Su Mubai. That apology text message made me feel that this call from Mother Su might not just be a simple inquiry about her daughter's health. Wang Yun, in my mind, the image of a lady lying in a hospital bed flashed by. When we first married, she used to call me her good son-in-law. She even said things like, "If Xiao Yu throws a tantrum, just come back and tell me." She seemed like a top-tier mother-in-law. Going to the Su family was also an enjoyment. I received the treatment of a son-in-law who didn't have to do anything. But all of this changed once the Su family gained power. Human hearts are unpredictable. This time, her precious son was forced to apologize to me. Could she endure it? I was 100% sure she wouldn't. I thought while eating, and the bowl was soon empty. Su Qinghua temporarily put down her phone, to serve another bowl of millet porridge for her husband. Where did Xiao Yu go just now? She was serving a bowl of porridge for Gu Chen. Mom, go on. Su Qinghua misses her parents too. A good friend is coming over today. She'll go back to visit tomorrow. On the other end of the phone, Wang Yun, hearing that her daughter personally served him porridge, felt a nameless rage burning in her heart. Isn't there a nanny? At the very least, he's an adult. He can't even handle a small thing like serving a bowl of porridge. Are his hands or legs broken? In their family's eyes, I have long been the soft rice man who married up. Unworthy means unworthy. Now he even dares to let my daughter serve him porridge personally. Does he really think he's an emperor? No wonder my daughter often comes home to stay. It turns out she's being bossed around like this. This marriage might as well end. We have money anyway. At worst, she can just find someone else. Xiao Yu, come home once you've recovered. Mom has something to discuss with you. After the mother and daughter finished their call, I was almost finished eating. Su Qinghua had also mostly recovered. There are still matters at the company waiting for me to handle. A luxury sedan drove towards us. Both the logo and the interior exuded status. But all of this was merely a backdrop for the noble woman inside the car. Shen Wanji called Su Qinghua, but the line was busy. However, Su Qinghua soon replied via message. Shen Wanji had a question. Exactly what kind of man could make the ice-cold Su Qinghua care so much? Every word revealed a firm resolve that it had to be him. Interesting. The car drove into the villa area. Su Qinghua had already given notice in advance. After breakfast, I prepared to head to the office. In the short distance from the living room to the door, Su Qinghua took her husband's arm. She softly asked, "What do you want for lunch? I'll bring it to you." Looking like a gentle and virtuous wife, with no trace of her usual coldness. "You should just stay at home. If you catch a cold, I'll have to take care of you." I didn't appreciate the gesture. I retorted immediately. Su Qinghua didn't mind. Isn't this also a form of concern? During the conversation, a black luxury sedan appeared at the gate. Su Qinghua had mentioned last night that a friend would be visiting today. I didn't take it to heart. To me, Su Qinghua's friend was just a stranger. I never expected that the visitor was indeed a stranger, but the most familiar stranger of all. The car door opened. A noble and graceful figure came into view. Her flowing skirt swayed gently as Shen Wanji stepped out, but when she looked ahead, time seemed to stand still. Then, countless precious memories flowed back, like that grand fireworks display they last saw together, soaring into the sky, then bursting into the most brilliant sparks, lighting up the dark night sky beautifully. My past self had imagined countless scenarios of meeting Shen Wanji, but they were all in vain. After years of despair, fate brought the person I once waited so long for, before me in the most unexpected way. The two who could once be described with so many beautiful words, now looked at each other like strangers. "Hubby, this is a very good friend of mine, Shen Wanji." "Wanji, this is my husband, Gu Chen." Su Qinghua introduced the two strangers to each other. The punishment Shen Wanji had long evaded finally arrived, far more painful than she had imagined. You abandoned the person who stayed with you for years, out of necessity, only for him to become someone else's husband one day, and for his wife to personally introduce him to you. Shen Wanji was numb with pain. The man opposite her nodded nonchalantly. "You two chat, I have things at the office. I'll take my leave now." I walked forward, brushing past Shen Wanji, to get my car from the garage. The car engine started, the red brake lights flickered a few times, and vanished from the two women's sight. "Wanji, Wanji," Su Qinghua called out repeatedly. Shen Wanji finally came back to her senses. From the emotions swirling in Shen Wanji's beautiful eyes, one could see many things. Some Su Qinghua understood, some she didn't. "An old classmate. We haven't been in touch for a long time. I suppose he's forgotten I even exist." The hardest lies to detect are incomplete truths. The identity of being a classmate was true. That I had forgotten her was also true. Whether it was an intentional burial of the past, or a natural forgetting remained to be seen. Su Qingyue's intuition told her that things weren't that simple, but her husband's composure just now was as if he had truly met an unfamiliar stranger. There was nothing to nitpick. It perfectly matched Shen Wanji's words. Are you feeling better? The topic was skillfully shifted. Two stunning beauties, each with her own charm, entered the living room together. They sat down on the sofa. Shen Wanji's mind was racing, wanting to find out from Su Qingyue how I had been all these years. The resort I recommended is quite good, but it's quite boring to go alone. Once you've fully recovered, going together as a couple will help build your relationship. You said you wanted to win back his heart. From what I just saw, it doesn't seem like you two have any issues. Shen Wanji picked up her teacup and took a sip. She couldn't even tell if the tea was good or bad. Her mind was elsewhere. Su Qingyue sighed softly. He's only being lenient because I'm sick. He isn't being too hard on me. Once I'm fully recovered, that tolerance will be withdrawn. Wanji, what do you think I should do? The deadline is approaching. Su Qingyue seemed desperate for any advice. Shen Wanji set down her teacup, saying that just a few words wouldn't be enough for her to help, and asked if she could explain in detail. The water in the teacup rippled slightly, and as Shen Wanji listened to Su Qingyue's love story, her heart was far from calm. This was undoubtedly a form of mental torment. The heroine of this love story should have been her, but now she was a passerby, not even a supporting character. They say regaining what was lost is one of the most joyful things in life. Then losing the lover who should have belonged to you is probably one of the most tragic things in life. Shen Wanji knew, I would definitely become a capable man, and would live well even without her. But, when she heard I risked my entire net worth to save Su's mother, and heard Su Qingyue say with regret that she had created various conflicts just to be dominant in the marriage, and heard Su Qingyue refuse to have children and slept in separate rooms, she felt a faint sense of relief, but mostly anger. How could she bear to treat him like that? Thinking back to those years, she never could bear to let him suffer even the slightest grievance. Even if she took 10,000 steps back, the kindness of saving a mother is greater than the heavens. Even if they didn't stay together until death, they should at least respect each other. Su Qingyue deserved to end up like this, just like herself, a victim of her own making, with no one else to blame. At the same time, Shen Wanji was blaming herself. She had been running away all these years. Had she known he was living so poorly, why would she have waited until today? My car's speed slowed down. There was a red light ahead. Thoughts drifted. I have changed the trajectory of my life, for two women, but neither resulted in a good outcome. One was Su Qingyue, for whom I gave up my entrepreneurial dreams, wasting time until now. The other was her. That name was so familiar yet strange. Shen Wanji, my childhood sweetheart. We agreed to go to the same university, but one day, the girl disappeared from the boy's life, without a trace. After the final exams, the boy's results came out. He could have gone to a better university, but stubbornly stayed at the agreed place, waiting and waiting, as the leaves turned from green to yellow, fell and grew back. Sometimes, when the truth is right in front of you, it's not that people don't believe it, but they refuse to believe she isn't coming back. A 30-second red light wasn't enough for me to remember much. Memories of Shen Wanji. In the early days after the separation, she was in all my dreams. I would talk in my sleep, and call out her name. Later in university, roommates who were awake at night heard my murmurs. During the day, a roommate asked in a joking tone, "Which beauty is Wanji? You can't even forget her in your sleep." But when they saw my serious expression, they realized they had said the wrong thing. Some things cannot be used as a spice for life, especially the story deep in one's heart. Perhaps the decade-long childhood bond was too heavy, or perhaps the memories she left were too beautiful. Arriving at this university and failing to see her, I only felt I was too foolishly persistent. She wouldn't even give an explanation or a goodbye. In the end, I was the only one sillily keeping the promise. Who cared about the old agreement? No one cared. I was simply the biggest fool in the world. Later, he tried to break free from the past. Dreaming of her proved his struggle. I developed the habit of night running. If 3 kilometers wasn't enough, then 5. I would eventually get tired enough for a dreamless night. Gradually, she stopped appearing in my dreams. Someone said if two people's fate isn't over, but they have to be apart, they will meet in dreams to repay it. Not dreaming of someone means the fate has ended. Indeed, in all the following years, I never saw her again. Until today. The car followed the set route to the company. Chen Qingqing felt the boss was exceptionally gloomy today, like layers of dark clouds before a downpour. Over the last 2 days, some matters had piled up while taking care of Su Qingyue. I handled these matters one by one, until the afternoon, but the truly difficult problem had just arrived. The upstream supplier sent news of a price hike. I had to personally go to negotiate. Coming out of the other company, Chen Qingqing was driving. I sat in the back and opened the window, letting the evening breeze blow on my face. It was strange. Clearly, the company had a problem, but my focus wasn't on it. During the negotiation, the other party announced a significant price increase, yet I felt it was just as so. How much worse could it get? Like being shot in the arm, while the pain is in the heart. Chen Qingqing watched me through the rearview mirror, wanting to comfort me, but didn't know how to bring up the negotiation. She was also there, but where would an employee get that kind of money? Seeing her boss's expression, she wondered if the company was really at the point of dissolving. Chen Qingqing didn't worry about her own job, she only wondered if she could still see me in the future. I forced my thoughts back to the company's problem. From whom should I borrow this money? My wife, Su Qingyue, was the first person I excluded. If I had really spent her money all these years, then that day when Lin Mubai took his anger out on me, I would have had to swallow my pride. I won't pawn my dignity for money. I lit up my phone and scrolled through the app list. I could see that familiar WeChat at a glance. No need for any build-up or pleasantries. The first words were to borrow money. The other party quickly replied, "How much?" Living in this world, besides family and love, and then there's friendship. Friends are about quality, not quantity. With a personality like mine, it's not surprising that I have 1 or 2 true brothers. I named a figure, and the other party said they could only provide half at most. They also said I couldn't just take the money, I had to come over for a drink. We haven't hung out in a long time. Give me a location. You know Ning Yuan keeps a tight leash on me since we got married. Come drink in my backyard. It won't delay anything, and we won't disturb anyone. If Shen Wanjun saw these chat logs, she would also marvel at how that bickering high school couple actually got married. Okay, I replied. Half the money was gathered. I'd find a way to get the other half. Boss, are we going back to the office, or finding a place for dinner, or should I take you home? Chen Qingqing tried to start a conversation, but my next sentence caught her completely off guard. It's too sudden, going to your house. I also. 2 things were circling in my mind. I was speaking without thinking. My intention was that Chen Qingqing had been running around with me all day, and it was difficult to get a taxi during the evening rush hour. It would be heartless to kick her out now, and drive to my friend's house myself, so I'd let her drive home, and then I would take the car to my friend's house. But a casual remark is often taken seriously by the listener. Did the boss already know she liked him? What about the hidden rules? A taboo relationship between boss and subordinate? Sensitive words kept flashing through Chen Qingqing's mind. Wearing her professional suit, though she couldn't compare to someone like Su Qingyue, that unattainable iceberg goddess, she was still a solid 90, beautiful, agile, and obedient. Luckily, my attention wasn't on her. Otherwise, I would have noticed that her delicate ears were flushed with red. She wanted to say she wasn't that kind of person. Dating was fine, but the prerequisite was a divorce. Boss, this isn't right. I cut her off. It's fine. Chen Qingqing steadied her mind and drove, planning to lay her cards on the table after parking. She wasn't an easy woman, who could be played with and tossed aside. I can be with you, but the prerequisite is that your heart is clean. She rehearsed her speech mentally. The car went through the stop-and-go traffic lights. Half an hour later, we arrived at her rented apartment. The result was obvious. I had her get out of the driver's seat, and then I drove away, leaving Chen Qingqing stunned in the wind, with a hint of disappointment. So, that's what the boss meant. I drove to a toy store in the shopping center, and bought a gift. Only then did I turn around and head straight for my destination. Arriving at the location, I rang the doorbell. The person who opened the door was a young woman with a pleasant face and figure. Beside her was a little girl of a few years old, who was incredibly cute. I knew you were coming. Young Chun has been busy ordering barbecue and buying alcohol. He's messing around in the backyard. You're not allowed to let him drink too much tonight. High school classmates. I was as familiar with their family as I could be. No need for pleasantries. Ning Yuan, I can't promise you that. I'm here to borrow money today. How much we drink is up to Yang Chun. So many couples argue because the husband secretly lends money, or the wife secretly supports her parents' family. I revealed the news in a light tone, to prevent my good brother from lending me money, and causing domestic conflict. Alcohol is best in moderation. It's bad for the body. Seeing that Ning Yuan didn't change her expression or tone, upon hearing the words, borrow money, I felt a bit more at ease. Uncle Gu, the cute little girl, was delighted to see me, because this uncle always brought her something fun, every time he visited, with a variety that never repeated. Come here, Xiao Yi, let uncle give you a hug. I knelt down and picked her up. My previous obsession with wanting a child was temporarily satisfied. After holding her for a while, I took out the exquisitely packaged music box, and let her unwrap it herself. She was full of anticipation. After winding it up, a beautiful melody played, and a lifelike princess doll danced gracefully. The little girl's eyes sparkled with joy. It made Ning Yuan smile helplessly. Every time I came, the gifts I brought were always a hit with her daughter. No wonder her daughter was a bit shy, but only clung to him. Taking advantage of the girl's enchantment with the music box, I walked toward the backyard. It was already dark, but the small backyard was well lit. The table was fully stocked with snacks and drinks. It looked like they were ready to fight until dawn. No wonder Ning Yuan said right away, not to let her husband drink too much. So that's why. You're so late. The barbecue is getting cold. Hurry up, Yang Chun laughed. I took off my jacket, and draped it casually over one of the chairs. I picked up a glass of cold beer to toast my brother. After a long drink, I asked, about me borrowing money from you. Have you discussed it with Ning Yuan? I told her. We were all classmates in junior and senior high. How could she disagree? Just for that big 90-point red envelope you gave for the baby's first month, we have to lend it. It's just that I'm a bit tight on cash right now. This is all I can lend you. Yang Chun took the initiative to clink glasses with me. Everything was understood without being said. I nodded. My brother was no longer alone. He had a family to protect, and a wife and daughter to care for. I completely understood. Is your CEO wife really that heartless? After all, we were once husband and wife. He should at least lend you some support. Yang Chun felt that between a married couple, using the word borrow was inappropriate, so he changed it to support. For all these years, I was mostly the one helping him. Now that the situation is reversed, it seems like hard going. His money has nothing to do with me, I said flatly. What? He looks down on you now that he's rich. Yang Chun also knew that in a family, a strong man and a weak woman is much more stable than a strong woman and a weak man. It seems my brother has already reached that stage. Yang Chun wouldn't try to persuade them to reconcile. For a man, it's better to make a clean break than to compromise for the sake of completeness. My brother has the looks, and while not exactly a massive success in his career, he can at least support a happy and harmonious family. Isn't that right? Su Qingyue's changes over the years were too complex to explain in just a few words. If the one you married was Shen Wanji, you'd probably have 2 kids by now. I originally wanted our 2 families to arrange a marriage for our kids, but your son hasn't even arrived yet. Drinking makes it easy to talk about the past. Back then, Shen Wanji and I were truly a match made in heaven, childhood sweethearts. It was so beautiful it made people jealous. I drank and said nothing. After all these years, meeting again now, we can never go back to the way things were, so let's not bring up the past anymore. From 7 to 11, 4 hours. This was far from enough time for the 2 brothers to drink. I have to show some respect to the lady of the house. Alright, let's stop here for tonight. If we keep drinking, Ning Yuan will have a problem with me. Who knows if I'll even be allowed in next time. Yang Chun still wanted more. The wine wasn't finished, and the chatting hadn't reached its peak. But thinking of his wife and daughter waiting for him in bed right now, he had to give up the idea of staying up all night. Fine, the 2 men started cleaning up the trash. After cleaning, Yang Chen let out a burp. It's too late. Stay here tonight. Don't leave. Stay in any room on the first floor. Ning Yuan and I stay on the second floor. Don't worry about it being inconvenient. I have a few new clothes over there. You can make do with them. It was late and he'd been drinking, so Yang Chen was a bit worried about my safety. I never stand on ceremony with Yang Chen. I nodded. Although I'm married, I'm not like Yongchen, having a happy family as a safe haven, always being cared for, like the string holding a kite. It was enough just to have a place to stay. The night was deep, the lights were still on in the first-floor living room. After bathing, Su Qinyue, wearing a loose nightgown, sat on the sofa, looking like she was waiting. Her slightly furrowed brows spoke of her worry for her husband. She wanted to call me, but hesitated again and again. Finally, Su Qinyue dialed her husband's number to check on him. Beep, the mechanical dialing sound rang in her ear. Only then did Su Qinyue realize that during their past Cold Wars, when she went back to her parents' house without a word, on those quiet nights, calls would keep coming in, the melodic ringtone sounding somewhat urgent. At that time, she only felt annoyed. At this moment, the roles were reversed. She finally understood what the person on the other end was actually feeling in their anxiety. Before the call even went through, Su Qinyue was overwhelmed by a wave of guilt. On the other side, the two men finished cleaning the backyard and the wine bottles. I found a random bedroom on the first floor to rest. I also finished bathing. To wash off the smell of alcohol. The two brothers were about the same size, so the clothes fit reasonably well. Just after drying my hair and preparing to sleep, the phone rang. Dizzy, I didn't want to answer. The caller stopped and then dialed again, as if they would keep calling until dawn if I didn't pick up. Hello. After a long wait, Su Qinyue finally heard that all-too-familiar voice. She rehearsed her words, "Hubby, it's getting late, time to come home." Facing his wife's soft whispers and sudden concern, I felt nothing. "I'm at a friend's house tonight. I'm staying over and won't be back. That's all, I'm drunk and tired." Su Qinyue could hear he was about to hang up. Her tone became a bit urgent. "Hubby, I can come pick you up." "No need." Beep, the call was disconnected. I put the phone on the nightstand and turned off the light to sleep. After the whole day, the company was in financial trouble, and past events, and past people were being dug up again. My body wasn't tired, but my heart was. I had polished off more than half the bottles in the backyard. Alcohol could serve as a sleeping pill. Before long, my consciousness faded into darkness. "Ma'am, would you like a late-night snack?" The live-in nanny saw the living room light was still on. Usually, it would have been off by this time. Sitting on the sofa, Su Qinyue stood up and shook her head slightly, then walked upstairs. On the bedroom bed, there was still a trace of her husband's scent. How much she missed it now. Things had developed far beyond Su Qinyue's expectations. She thought once she recovered, her husband would no longer want to share a bed with her, but who knew he would just stay out all night. The combination of friend's house and drinking made it impossible not to overthink. A friend? A male friend or a female friend? Many things happen after drinking. Although based on years of knowing him, it was impossible for her husband to cheat during their marriage. But staying out all night spoke volumes about his attitude. This was just a house now, not a home. An intuition told Su Qinyue that Shenwanji's relationship with her husband was not just as simple as former classmates. From the way she looked dazed the moment she saw him, it was plain to see. A strong sense of crisis gathered like dark, looming clouds, weighing on Su Qinyue's heart, tossing and turning, unable to sleep, drowsily falling asleep, but had a dream that she and her husband divorced. Another woman soon appeared by my side. Their life was very happy, as sweet as honey. Even cooking in the kitchen together was flirtatious. At night, that woman was inseparable from me. Soon they had a child, the fruit of their love. Su Qinyue woke up startled. Fine sweat beaded on her fair forehead. "Fortunately, it was just a dream," she murmured with lingering fear. In the dream, she watched from a third-person perspective. Unable to stop it, unable to speak, she could only watch helplessly. Her beloved husband, being taken away by another woman, along with the love that originally belonged to her. It was still dark outside. Su Qinyue could no longer sleep. "Husband, please come back," she called out pleadingly, filled with loneliness. On a simple night, some are happy, while others are sad. Inside a detached villa, a noble and charming beauty. Her hair was tied up casually, yet she exuded infinite charm from every angle. Shenwanji held a wine glass, lost in thought. After a long time, she picked up the phone. A respectful voice came from the other side, asking for her orders. Showing no annoyance at being disturbed in the middle of the night. "Shen, Wanji instructed the person to investigate some matters. Then she hung up the phone. The moment she saw me, many things could no longer be suppressed. The dam of rationality collapsed. Emotions surged and swept through her heart. He hadn't changed, faintly overlapping with the boy in her memory. He had changed, becoming someone else's husband, but she only had herself to blame. She was the one who broke their promise. On the eve of the big exam that year, the girl's parents decided to divorce. Shen Wanji's mother held her and wept constantly, pleading, "Mom doesn't want anything. I only want you, my daughter. Come with me." Shen Wanji remained silent. Her grandparents had passed away early. Now her mother's marriage had collapsed and she lost her husband. If Shen Wanji refused her as well, it would be the straw that broke the camel's back. Facing her mother's constant pleading, as a daughter, she simply couldn't abandon her. But if she really left, all her silent promises to that boy would vanish. Shen Wanji couldn't bring herself to tell me such a cruel fact. She chose the most shameful escape, cruelly letting down that boy who said he would always stay with her. Her mother took her to seek refuge with an aunt living abroad. This aunt, in an era when college graduates were highly valued, had been admitted to a top university, and that opportunity to study was one Shen Wanji's mother had given up for her sister. This career woman had been through many ups and downs, and now controlled a prestigious venture capital group. Having been hurt in past relationships, she had no children of her own, so she treated Shen Wanji as her own daughter, training her to be her successor. Shen Wanji did not disappoint her. She was extremely talented. In recent years, she took over domestic operations, but she didn't dare come looking for me. Perhaps she couldn't forgive herself for being the one who betrayed the promise back then, for being the one who abandoned me. But fate still brought this former childhood sweetheart couple together again, and gave Shen Wanji the harshest punishment. The boy who once grew up by her side, the boy whose heart was once full of her, had now become someone else's husband. They met as strangers. He wouldn't even say hello to her, as if they were total strangers. Shen Wanji was drunk on past memories and unwilling to wake up, with a trace of a tear at the corner of her eye. Entering the office the next day, I found Chen Qingqing looking like she hadn't slept well. "Morning, boss," Chen Qingqing said, dodging my gaze. She didn't dare look at me. "Didn't rest well last night?" I asked casually. It seemed to hit a nerve. She answered flusteredly, "I slept very well. What one thinks of by day, one dreams of by night." Last night, Chen Qingqing had a dream that went against her own will. She dreamed that after I sent her home, I followed her up to her apartment. As soon as we entered, I pinned her behind the door, and subjected her to a heavy dose of workplace rules. This made Chen Qingqing feel a sense of self-shame. She clearly rejected such things, yet she had that kind of dream. Doesn't that mean? No, absolutely not. I didn't pay much attention. As I stepped into the office, my brow furrowed again. Only half of the working capital had been borrowed. Where should I get the other half? In the morning, Su Qingyue waited for a long time, but her husband was nowhere to be seen. Her partner had stayed out all night. Various emotions lingered in her heart as a wife: worry, anxiety, and speculation. She wanted to call again to ask, but remembered my impatient tone from last night. She lost the courage to call again, fearing she would be annoying. What if he doesn't even come back tonight? Thinking this, Su Qingyue's hand reaching for her phone slowly dropped. "It turns out, seeing your partner every time you come home is also a form of happiness. But once it becomes a habit, you don't realize how precious it is." During the times she used to stay at her parents' house, how did her husband spend his nights? Su Qingyue looked at the wedding photo by the bed. The faces in the photo were glowing with happiness. Now, she was all alone in this wedding chamber. Su Qingyue's bright eyes dimmed with disappointment. Sitting before the mirror, her nimble hands combed through her hair. She wanted to style her hair beautifully to go see her husband. Based on her knowledge of me, even if I don't go home, I won't neglect the business. She could use the excuse of delivering lunch to find me at noon. I am the type who responds to kindness rather than force. The matters ordered last night had already been organized into files by morning, delivered to Shen Wanji. He read it carefully. After a long time, he closed the folder. "Is this how you've lived all these years?" Shen Wanji looked at the sunlight outside the window, seemingly asking others, but actually asking herself, if she hadn't left back then, what would it be like now? He felt this information was still missing a lot. After all, Some things still need to be asked of those around him. I was frantic over the remaining half of the funds. I had already asked several close friends. The tea that was brewed, I didn't have the heart to take a single sip. It gradually grew cold. At this moment, the chat interface was replaced by a call. I just left. And you're calling already? I said to my buddy. Yang Chun's tone was shocked. My wife got a call from someone. It's Shinwanji. The call fell into a 2-second silence. It was so quiet I could hear the baby babbling next to her. Yeah, I know. Anything else? My calmness felt both light and heavy, like those mountains hidden in the mist, making it hard to see their true face. Yang Chun didn't expect his buddy to be so indifferent. So indifferent it was sorrowful. Don't you want to know what she said? She actually asked a lot about you. I blocked all paths with a single word. Yang Chun felt discouraged, speechless. He didn't know the grudge between the two, but recalling how they used to be, and seeing how they ended up now, even an outsider like Yang Chun felt it was a pity. You said back then she left suddenly. So many years later, do you still want to know the answer? Knowing or not knowing makes no difference. Time has already passed. It won't come back. It's better to drink tonight. Let's talk more tonight. Yang Chun hung up in silence. He didn't feel the joy of helping a brother, but rather a sense of melancholy. Chen Qingqing suspected the company was really going bankrupt. The boss fell into deep thought after taking a call. Until noon, Chen Qingqing pushed open the office door again. Boss, what is it? The front desk said a Miss Shen wants to see you. She says it's for business. I was silent. Last time we met, I walked away pretending to be a stranger. Now she's come to my door. It seems some things are unavoidable after all. Let her in. The moment Chen Qingqing saw Shen Wanji, even as a woman, she couldn't help but admire her. Noble and elegant. Every move was full of grace. In front of Shen Wanji, Chen Qingqing couldn't muster any confidence. Thinking back to her vanity that night, worrying the boss might try to take advantage of her, it was truly unnecessary. She brought Shen Wanji to the office, and left tactfully. For a moment, in this space, only Shen Wanji and I were left. These former childhood sweethearts looked at each other in silence. What should be said? It felt as if nothing was appropriate. Long time no see. Shen Wanji looked at the man in front of her. The sunny, handsome youth from back then had shed his innocence, and become a steady, deep man. So many years have passed, yet he didn't feel like a stranger to me. Most of the impressions in my memory could overlap with the person before me. After all, he accompanied me through over a dozen years of my life. How many decades can a person have in a lifetime? Shen Wanji really wanted to hug him like before, but the few steps between them had become a chasm. I don't know what kind of mood I'm in. Perhaps there is no mood. The wound has already scarred over. Like Yang Chun said, I should ask her why she left back then. Talking about the future. There seems to be no future for us to talk about. I can only talk about the present. Miss Shen, what brings you here? That pair who used to go to school together, who would eat at each other's houses, and said they would go to the same university. They never would have guessed that today's Miss Shen, just 3 short words, would brush everything aside. Shen Wanji felt bursts of pain in her chest, like a knife cutting back and forth. She had imagined many scenarios of meeting me. One of them had come true. I heard from Yang Chun that you're short on money lately. I have some here. It should be enough to get you through this crisis. Shen Wanji took a card out of her bag, and gently placed it on the desk. Take it back. No need for you to worry, given your temperament. You wouldn't borrow money from Yang Chun unless it was a last resort. I interrupted her. I said, this is my business. You don't need to care, and you have no right to care. If you're here to make amends for what happened back then it's even more unnecessary. I stopped hating you long ago. If I hated you for all these years, wouldn't I be exhausted? You personally taught me a lesson. No one is indispensable to another. Life goes on even after leaving. You should understand that better than anyone. It looks like you've lived well all these years. You didn't make the wrong choice by leaving with your mother. Congratulations. These words seemed sarcastic, but, coming from someone who kept missing opportunities, they carried a sense of honesty. Shen Wanji deeply felt my resistance towards her, and the past that could never be reclaimed. Shen Wanji looked down at the card on the desk. I just wanted to help you, Gu Huai. You never have to act tough in front of me. At this moment, she understood what it meant for concern to lead to confusion. There could be 100 ways. I could have just found someone to use as a front. Yet I chose the way with the lowest success rate, only because I couldn't resist the urge to see you. That bunch of ingrates in the Su family look down on you. If you ask Su Qingyue for money again, your situation will only get harder. Most marriages are about balance. Gu Huai, your success is what will make your life better. I don't expect you to forgive me for abandoning you back then. No matter how many excuses I have, the facts won't change. But don't let your pride get in the way with me. There's no need for that. In the end, it will only hurt you and your career. Promise me you'll take this money. Shen Wanji persuaded him softly. But in my view, her giving me this money is nothing more than her feeling guilty about our past relationship. If I really took it, it would be like selling off that relationship. I've already been taught a harsh lesson by Su Qingyue. I hate this kind of money that replaces feelings the most. I'd rather mortgage my car and house for a loan. The office fell into silence again, because I stopped answering Shen Wanji. She knew that young man could be very stubborn about some things. Forcing him would only make him more resentful. Think again, there will always be a way. Shen Wanji took the card back, and left her contact information. If Su Qingyue doesn't help you, remember to come to me. Don't try to be a hero. Shen Wanji wanted to say, didn't we promise to be each other's safe harbor? The words were on the tip of her tongue but she couldn't say them. She was the one who personally destroyed those vows. Gu Huai, Shen Wanji's eyes were full of reluctance. Calling my name, but things can never go back. But he wasn't doing well. According to Ning Yuan's description, he was far from happy, missing out on great business opportunities, resulting in a bunch of ungrateful ingrates, constant conflict between the couple. For someone who loves children so much, to still have no children despite being healthy. What's despairing is that no matter how bad his life is, you, Shen Wanji, cannot love him, nor can you give him happiness. You can only watch helplessly, because he is now someone else's husband. Su Qingyue was busy all morning, clearing up the backlog of work from her illness. She ordered her husband's favorite food, and hurried to her destination. She missed him. Meanwhile, many questions were swirling in her mind. Where exactly did her husband go last night? There were many traffic lights in the city. It delayed her for a while. Getting out of the car, she carried the exquisite lunchbox into the company. Chen Qingqing was stunned. Why was she here too? What time did your boss get to the office this morning? Su Qingyue asked. When facing Su Qingyue, Chen Qingqing felt inexplicably guilty. Don't you two sleep in the same bed? Why ask me, an outsider, what time your husband goes to work? Could it be that the boss didn't go home last night? Out all night? Information exploded in an instant. But the boss has been worried to death lately. Where would he get the mood for carousing? Around 9 o'clock. She answered Su Qingyue truthfully. She felt intimidated by no one else but her. Chen Qingqing looked down. Her gaze fell on the exquisite wooden lunchbox. Bringing food wasn't enough. Twice in 7 days. She had been working there for years. The number of times the boss's wife came to the office could be counted on one hand, let alone bringing food. Something unusual must be going on. Plus, the boss likely didn't go home last night. Has their relationship fallen apart? Looking at it this way, it must be her problem. Otherwise, there would be no need to personally deliver food to win her husband's favor. Wait, what about that Miss Shen in the office? The atmosphere between the boss and her is definitely not simple. Then again, the one in front of her clearly looks wealthy. Why didn't the boss ask his own wife for help? Chen Qingqing felt the relationships were a mess, and sighed softly. That Miss Shen is still in the office and hasn't left yet, and now the wife is here. Boss, good luck to you. Su Qingyue walked to the office and pushed the door open. The first person she saw was not her husband, but an enchanting woman. A mysterious and elegant long dress outlined her graceful and devilish curves. Just a view of her back was enough to make one linger. Su Qingyue recognized her immediately. She was slightly stunned. Yesterday's suspicions and instincts all turned into reality at this moment. If it was just a guess before that they weren't simple, now it was confirmed. Wanji, why are you here? I haven't seen Gu Huai in a long time. I came to catch up with him today. Shen Wanji was calm and composed. As she spoke slowly, for some reason, Su Qingyue felt a sense of resentment toward her calmness. That calmness made it seem like she was the wife, appearing here as a matter of course, while she herself was just a stranger who barged in halfway. An even more absurd thought came to mind. The friend's house her husband mentioned last night. Which friend was it exactly? Was it Shenwanji's house? And he had been drinking. Shenwanji also noticed the food in Su Qingyue's hand. I won't disturb you two then. Enjoy your lunch. These two women, each with their own unique charms, brushed past each other. The pleasant sound of high heels faded away, leaving only the husband and wife. Shenwanji just left like that, but Su Qingyue found it hard to let go. It felt like a thief had left, but would come back. Still thinking about it, she had always trusted her instincts. If they were just ordinary high school classmates, meeting after not seeing each other for so many years, was it really necessary to come in person to catch up? It's a bit beyond ordinary. I have the same feeling as Qin Qingqing. Su Qingyue has been coming here too frequently lately. Su Qingyue, although I wanted to get to the bottom of it right away, and ask what their relationship really was, but acting rashly, will only cause the marriage on the edge of the cliff to shatter completely. Su Qingyue regained her composure, and placed the exquisite wooden lunch box on the coffee table. Then she came to my side, resting her hand gently on my broad shoulders. The wedding ring on her ring finger was particularly prominent. At this moment, they finally showed some marital intimacy. Hubby, you've been busy all morning, it's time to eat. I made all your favorite dishes. I'm not hungry, I don't feel like eating. He turned off his phone screen, not wanting Su Qingyue to see that he was borrowing money everywhere. This small action made the wife behind him even more uneasy. Her husband was hiding something from her. It's time, you should eat anyway. If you ruin your health, it's not worth it. Hubby, didn't you say you wanted a child? If Qin Qingqing were present, she would surely be confused. Is this still that same iceberg, CEO? Even an iceberg can melt. For the first time, I understand what it feels like to be pressured like this. Not to mention, he realized long ago that health is the greatest asset, and exercised regularly. To put it bluntly, throughout these years of childlessness, was it because of my poor health? Now you turn around and say, you should take good care of your health. Let's have a child. How is this any different from talking nonsense? TSK, fate is truly cruel. What I used to desire but couldn't get, is now chasing after me. When I first noticed the cracks in our marriage, I suggested having a child time and time again. My posture then was much lower than Su Qingyue's is now. I often created various romantic atmospheres, but in the end, I only received my wife's coldness and arguments, followed by sleeping in separate rooms. Now, I don't care anymore. If I want a child, hugging my niece is also quite nice. My health is perfectly fine. Back then, I ate on time every day, but I didn't see you wanting a child. Facing her husband's sharp questioning, Su Qingyue was left speechless. She guiltily changed the subject. Try the food first to see if it suits your taste. After saying that, she personally opened the exquisite lunchbox, and laid out the fragrant and delicious dishes one by one. Thanks to the excellent insulation, the food was still steaming hot. At this moment, one of the friends I had asked for help, called me. I walked out of the office to take the call. Before leaving, I threw out a sentence, eat it yourself. Su Qingyue couldn't eat at all. A sense of powerlessness grew wildly in her heart like weeds. Her husband stayed out all night, and might even have countless ties to other women. Whose house did her husband stay at after drinking last night? What was my relationship with Shenwanji? Where did that inexplicable and ambiguous atmosphere between them come from? All of this was deeply troubling her. About 10 minutes later, I finished the call and secured more funds. I wanted Qin Qingqing to prepare a lunch for me, and bring it to the office. Unexpectedly, Qin Qingqing said bluntly, the boss's wife brought you food, so you won't be needing me, right? Her words seemed a bit resentful. Facing Su Qingyue in the office, I didn't make it difficult for her and went straight back to the office. Back in the office, I said to my wife sitting on the sofa, my assistant seems a bit afraid of you. Naturally, Su Qingyue didn't dare let her husband know that she had tried to poach my assistant, and plant someone by my side. Now she couldn't even control her husband staying out at night, let alone interfering in his career. She feared this precarious marriage would end. Moreover, the target she needed to watch out for had already changed. Maybe, she didn't want to disturb our time alone as a couple. Hubby, let's eat first. It will be cold soon. The simple utensils were all set out, waiting for the master of the house to eat. I didn't have a good look for my wife's evasiveness. 102. What needed to be said had been said. What needed to be said has been said. We are all adults. Enough is enough. It's sad for a couple to end up like this. Clearly, Su Qingyue could have boldly used her rights as a wife to say, "Hubby, the assistant by your side is too pretty. I'm worried." At most, she could act a little spoiled at night, and call him "hubby" a few more times. Then any problem would be easily solved. Without fulfilling the duties of a wife, there are no rights of a wife. Now she could only use certain tactics to operate. But she happened to encounter Chen Qingqing, who didn't care for money. One wave after another, she failed to poach the assistant from her husband. And now there was another woman with no less beauty, and a background, that far surpassed her own, having countless connections with him. Is it that what's lost is destined to be lost? Even if given a second chance, I didn't sit on the sofa, but went back to my desk, thinking about how to get the final bit of funding. Su Qingyue, seeing that her husband's attention was not on her at all, a flash of gloom appeared in her eyes. A woman beautifies herself for the one who appreciates her. Today, she put a lot of thought into it, and chose her husband's favorite style of long dress, but she still couldn't capture his attention. While I was thinking about who to borrow the last sum of money from, a fragrance wafted over. Su Qingyue leaned in gently from behind, her jade-like arms lightly circling her husband's neck. At this moment, there was no distance between them. They were intimately close. Su Qingyue was no longer that unreachable iceberg CEO in the company. Now, she was just a wife longing for her husband's embrace. I frowned. "Don't lean so close. I'm not used to it, hubby. Have you forgotten how much in love we were during the first few years of our marriage?" Su Qingyue mentioned this point. A charming blush spread across her stunning face. "It's not that I forgot. It's that you forgot, Su Qingyue." I called her by her full name. It caused Su Qingyue, who was lost in beautiful memories, to snap back to reality instantly. Now, her husband couldn't even be bothered to hug her, let alone say anything sweet. My indifference intensified her sense of crisis. Yet, she was helpless. Like a kite with a broken string, she could only watch him leave. Su Qingyue sighed softly by her husband's ear. "Where did you go last night?" She couldn't ask. She couldn't ask about his relationship with Shen Wanji either. If their marriage was a mirror, it had long been shattered on the floor by him. It was covered in cracks. Now, Su Qingyue wanted to repair this mirror, but she couldn't even manage the first step, of picking it up from the ground, because with just a slight touch, it would shatter into pieces. It was okay. If she couldn't ask her husband, she could ask her. What kind of high school classmate was Shen Wanji, to be worth him traveling so far to catch up with? As for him not coming home last night, she could pretend it never happened. "Honey, don't stay out tonight. No place is as comfortable as home. Come back early. I'll be waiting for you. I'll cook dinner for you myself, okay?" Su Qingyue's voice was no longer cold. She spoke softly, just like a wife longing for her husband to return. "Why is it your turn to beg me to come home now? You used to stay at your parents' for a month at a time. I've only been away for one day. It's nothing compared to that. It's my fault." Now, Su Qingyue could only meekly admit she was wrong. She didn't dare to argue. A crazy idea formed in her mind. To start over. She was deeply obsessed. She wanted to poach her husband's assistant to plant a spy. When that failed and her husband stayed out, she actually thought about installing a tracker on my car. Her behavior was slowly crossing the line. Seeing her husband's impatience to leave, she took the opportunity to lean toward my well-defined face, and plant a kiss. By acting like an affectionate couple, she felt a sense of comfort. Only then could she truly feel that I was still her husband, that I belonged to her alone, and hadn't been stolen by Shen Wanji. "Honey, remember to come home tonight. I'll be waiting for you." Su Qingyue repeated it before leaving. She left so that I could eat properly. Perhaps her husband would value the food, and finish the lunch she had brought. Secondly, she had matters to settle with Shen Wanji. "See you tonight." Su Qingyue looked at me reluctantly a few more times, then pushed the door open and left. Her advances and submissiveness didn't affect me at all. After Shen Wanji and Su Qingyue left, a light and agile figure walked in. "Boss, are you okay? What could happen to me?" In Chen Qingqing's imagination, the office would become a battleground, full of tension and conflict, like a bloodbath. That Ms. Shen, though no less beautiful or elegant than the boss's wife, wasn't the legal wife after all. It was only natural that she'd admit defeat and leave first. Once Ms. Shen left, the boss would have to face his wife's interrogation, but that didn't seem to be the case. Her boss was still as relaxed as ever, while the two who left one after the other looked troubled. What on earth happened? As soon as Su Qingyue got back in her car, she called Shen Wanji. It was answered quickly. I have some things I want to discuss with you. Do you have time? She got straight to the point. Tomorrow. I'm busy this afternoon, Shen Wanji replied. She didn't even ask what she wanted to talk about. Both of them knew perfectly well. There wasn't even any friendly small talk. She hung up abruptly. Shen Wanji put down her phone. She was back at her own company headquarters now, looking out from her office. She had a panoramic view of the city's most bustling district. She wasn't surprised by Su Qingyue's call. If she wants to meet, so be it. If she wants to talk, so be it. Her years with Gu Huai were nothing to be ashamed of. She pondered for a moment, then picked up the Su Group's files from her desk. Some things come with a price. I won't settle scores with them, so he will do it himself. After a busy day, perhaps because we didn't drink enough last night, Yang Chun called me repeatedly. My car didn't head toward home. Before going to my friend's place, I followed my usual routine and bought a toy for his niece. The drinking session that followed wasn't enjoyable at all. Mingyuan joined in too. The little girl was being looked after by the nanny. After drinking until about 9:30, I hired a designated driver to take me home. Staying at someone else's place for one night is fine, but doing it repeatedly is quite inconvenient. That evening, Su Qingyue stepped into the kitchen for the first time in a long time. The last time she cooked was ages ago, but with the help of the housekeeper, she managed to prepare a fairly lavish dinner. If the employees at her company knew that the Ice Queen CEO postponed her meetings just to go home early and cook dinner for her husband, their jaws would drop. The meal was ready, and the aroma filled the living room. Only then did the house feel a bit more like a home. Her phone rang. Su Qingyue thought it was her husband calling. Full of anticipation, it turned out to be her mother. Xiaoye, you haven't come home for dinner in so long. If you're not busy tonight, come over for a visit. The long time Wang Yun referred to, it refers to not visiting her mother's house for a week. This was all because Su Qingyue spoiled them. Previously, as the mistress of this new family, she would return to her mother's house to stay at every turn. This made Wang Yun increasingly dismissive of the fact that her daughter was married and had a new family. This kind of behavior indirectly sent a message to the Su family. Does my daughter not value her husband that much? If a normal couple is in love, who would keep running back to their mother's house? Shouldn't they focus most of their energy on managing their own little family? Thus, the Su family looked down on their son-in-law more and more. As his wife, she bears an inescapable responsibility. Hearing her mother's kind voice, Su Qingyue felt conflicted. She looked at the food on the table. Just today, she had solemnly promised her husband to be a good wife, to cook dinner herself tonight, to look forward to his return, and not to stay out overnight. If her husband came home to find her gone and the food cold, how disappointed would he be? This crumbling marriage would become even more irreparable. I can't go, Su Qingyue said in a soft tone. Mom, I've already made dinner here tonight, so I won't be running back and forth. Wang Yun felt displeased. She felt the anger of something under her control going off track. Before, she would come home for dinner whenever called. The two houses weren't far apart. It was just a short drive away. Why did her daughter suddenly change? Could it be that that useless man was more important than her own mother? Xiaoye, didn't you say yesterday you'd come back today? Fine, I will definitely go back tomorrow. No matter how much Wang Yun talked her ear off, she couldn't get her daughter to come home for dinner. A feeling of being neglected filled her heart. Finally, she hung up helplessly, reminding her to definitely come back tomorrow. Su Mubai saw this and asked, Sis, did she say she's coming back for dinner? Wang Yun got angrier as she spoke. Don't even mention it. I don't know what kind of spell that loser has cast on your sister lately. First, she made you apologize to him, and now she won't even come home. Su Mubai dismissed it. My sister is just sentimental. Plus, she just recovered from an illness, and since he took care of her, she doesn't want to hurt his feelings for now. In a few days, when that gratitude runs out, it'll be fine. If it were me, I would have kicked that freeloading man out long ago. Su Mubai's explanation made Wang Yun feel a bit better. Indeed, I think your sister's marriage is already basically over in all but name. Luckily, she didn't have children with that loser. When your sister comes home tomorrow, I'll persuade her to divorce early and be free. Don't keep clinging to that old sentiment. At most, we'll give him some money to dismiss him. Yes, even if she's a divorcee, there are plenty of people who would want to join our Su family. There's no need to worry at all. Su Mubai nodded. Everyone in the Su family present was avoiding one reason. They didn't talk about how great kindness can breed resentment. I am now a person of high status. You're not even worthy of standing on equal footing with me. Yet, you did me a great kindness. The kind that kneeling and kowtowing, or serving like an ox or horse couldn't repay. The gap was too wide, making it awkward. They needed to find an excuse to cut ties quickly. That way, the heavy stone on their hearts could be removed. Su Mubai's wife listened from the side, trembling with fear. Since Mo Chiuyun married into the family, she had heard Su Mubai mention the past, such great kindness. And yet they still despised him, talking behind his back, and even wanting to cut ties completely, to escape the condemnation of their conscience. If they had any conscience, they wouldn't do this at all. She had married and based on her outstanding beauty, but youth is limited. There will come a day when her beauty fades. At that time, would Su Mubai kick her out too? Mo Chiuyun felt extremely panicked, but she didn't dare to show it. Su Mubai didn't expect that his own words would slowly lead his marriage toward collapse. In the future, Mo Chiuyun would be like a mouse, constantly thinking about transferring assets. Su Qinyue hung up the phone, knowing nothing of what was happening at her mother's house. Chen Qingqing, the beautiful assistant, was already enough to make her uneasy, but not enough to make her lose her cool. But Shen Wanji's appearance made Su Qinyue restless. The other woman was in no way inferior to her. Even her background was unfathomably deep. Combined with her husband not coming home at night, she had a very real premonition. I will soon divorce her, and be with Shen Wanji. Just imagining that scene, Su Qinyue felt a pain that made it hard to breathe. Shen Wanji wouldn't have thought that her appearance in my office would greatly provoke Su Qinyue, to the point where she would do things with complete disregard for the consequences. For someone who has regained what was lost, you can never fathom them with normal logic. Now, even if I asked for Su Qinyue's life, she would agree. As the sky darkened, Su Qinyue waited and waited, but there was still no sign of her husband. No one answered her calls. As she stared blankly outside, her waiting figure even made the housekeeper feel sorry for her. Madam, why don't you eat first? Su Qinyue shook her head slightly. Her mind was in a mess. She deeply missed the days of their early marriage, when her husband would always come home early. The two of them didn't even hire a housekeeper. Enjoying their world of two, they could linger over dinner for a long time, sharing the events of the day at the table. Now, the thread connecting her and her husband had broken. Su Qinyue also experienced firsthand how painful it was to stay in an empty house alone, waiting bitterly for her other half to return. Where is he now? Are you with Shen Wanji? The dark night could not answer Su Qinyue. All she could do was wait for time to pass bit by bit. The food on the table turned from hot to cold. Su Qinyue still couldn't wait for her husband's return. She had never felt so deeply before. The feeling of a family on the brink of collapse. Just when Su Qinyue thought her husband wouldn't come back tonight, the sound of a car came from the courtyard. I got out of the passenger seat. As the night wind blew, I felt a bit dizzy. My vision cleared from a slight blur. There was a tall and perfect figure at the door. In an ordinary family, if a husband went out drinking with friends, and came back this late, the wife would surely scold him. But for Su Qinyue, whether I drank or not was no longer important. As long as I was still willing to come home, and not stay out all night, it was enough. Stepping into the living room, I loosened my tie and cuffs with one hand. Su Qinyue acted as a virtuous wife, helping me take off my coat. Honey, I'll go prepare some hangover soup for you. Rest on the sofa for a while, she said softly. Don't bother. I didn't look at her. Walking straight to the side bedroom. The alcohol was kicking in and I wanted to sleep, but I have a bit of OCD. I had to take a shower first. Refusal or not. As a wife, Su Qinyue still did what she had to do. When she carried a bowl of hangover soup at just the right temperature into the side room, she heard the sound of water from the bathroom. Su Qinyue saw my phone on the nightstand. When we first got married, we trusted each other, and rarely touched each other's phones. As for later, when we slept in separate rooms, there was even less opportunity. At this moment, Su Qinyue had an urge to investigate. Where did her husband go last night? Did Shinwanji come to the company to catch up or for old time's sake? Perhaps she could find the answers in there. The water in the bathroom was still running. After thinking it over, she ultimately chose to peek at her husband's phone. Who would have thought a cold iceberg CEO would actually check up on her husband? The screen lit up. Entering the password, she tapped the screen from memory. Successfully unlocked. Opening the chat app, her gaze swept across. But she didn't find Shinwanji's account. Instead, there were some people she didn't know. Su Qinyue frowned slightly. Opening one of them, the content was mostly about borrowing money. Opening the next one, it was also about borrowing money. Looking at this, she felt a sense of sadness. The gap between husband and wife was already so deep. Her husband would rather ask friends for help than mention it to her. In his heart, she wasn't someone he could confide in or rely on. With a long list of friends, Su Qinyue directly typed Shinwanji into the search bar. The results showed no such person. No related results either. Sometimes, no answer is more worrying than having one. The situation between Shinwanji and her husband was confusing, like it was wrapped in an impenetrable mist, untangleable and inseparable. This deep sense of crisis allowed Shinwanji, when facing the wife, to remain calm and collected. What kind of past did they really have? Lost in thought, she didn't even hear the water stop in the bathroom. I opened the bathroom door. Su Qinyue didn't even have time to put the phone down. She felt restless and uneasy. Checking up is an invasion of privacy. I glanced at her. What are you checking? Checking if I stayed out last night, to go to a hotel with some woman. Well, you guessed right. At worst, I'll leave with nothing if we go to court. You probably don't even care for my little money. Why don't you just sign that divorce agreement? Let's part ways on good terms. I said nonchalantly. I felt dizzy. Showering after drinking makes it worse. Su Qinyue was caught red-handed snooping. It was undoubtedly adding fuel to the fire, because checking up means lack of trust, so I'll just admit it. She could still tell the difference between good and bad words. She changed the subject. Honey, why didn't you tell me your company was short on funds? How troublesome to ask outsiders. I didn't bother arguing with her. I quickly dried my hair and went to sleep. I'd rather take a loan than use Su Qinyue's money. Those ungrateful wolves in the Su family are just waiting for an excuse to bite me. Honey, in a daze, I felt a fragrant, soft body pressing against me. A pair of slender arms wrapped around my waist. Go back to your room once you're better. The alcohol hit me, and I was really sleepy. Dizzily, I fell into a dream. Su Qinyue called out softly twice. Receiving no response, she leaned into my broad chest. My words were churning in Su Qinyue's heart. Staying at a hotel with a woman. You guessed right. She instinctively held her husband tightly. If another woman really took me away from her, she would go crazy. Having lost once before, she could not lose a second time, no matter what. What should she do to win back her husband's heart? The history with Shinwanji and the admission of cheating undoubtedly provoked Su Qinyue. The cold iceberg beauty was starting to show signs of obsession. She kissed her husband's thin lips. Her slender hands gently caressed his face. Full of longing, her touch moved down past his Adam's apple, and then onto the buttons of his pajamas. He suddenly remembered that there's a type of tracker disguised as a button. I wonder how effective it is. Her nimble hands trembled slightly. It had been too long since she was intimate with her husband. My head felt heavy. While I was half asleep and half awake, I heard someone by my ear, calling my name with sweet, tender words. Hubby felt like he was floating on clouds. Slowly opening my eyes, what came into view was my wife's stunning face, flushed with a rosy glow. Hubby, I love you. It must have been a dream within a dream. After some tossing and turning, both fell into a deep sleep, until the morning sun streamed into the room. Did I finally wake up? I was the only one left in bed. A headache followed the drinking. I propped myself up. Thinking of last night, I thought it was a dream, but the messy bed confirmed it wasn't. This is crazy. Is she still the Su Qinyue I know, even when we were newly married, and most in love? She had never acted like this. She was conservative, but last night was the complete opposite. Just the kisses were so passionate. The wrinkled sheets silently recorded everything. My wife's overall behavior these past few days is like she's a completely different person. Su Qinyue walked into the bedroom. She sat down by the bed. Her stunning face was radiant. Hubby, Breakfast is ready, he said softly. I drank too much last night, and woke up with a headache. Right now, the wife sitting by the bed was noble and dignified, a far cry from the woman who passionately called him hubby last night. They were complete opposites. It felt like a rift in reality. Thinking of this made my head hurt even more. Su Chinue has changed too much lately. I suddenly felt like I didn't know her. Perhaps the old Su Chinue was also this gentle and considerate, but that was a long time ago. So long ago that it feels foreign. Last night, she was so out of character. Was this still the wife, who could only clutch the sheets tightly? Seeing her husband holding his head in pain, Su Chinue went to the kitchen to make a cup of honey water. Don't drink so much in the future. It's bad for your health. Facing his wife's gentle reminder, I didn't buy it. I asked her, Su Chinue, since we talked about divorce, you've become a different person just to please me, serving tea and water. Being proactive with intimacy. I can't even remember the last time I received such treatment. Why bother? Those who play favorites always get tired eventually. We'll divorce sooner or later anyway. I know my wife once loved me, but it wasn't the tenderness Su Chinue shows now. I have endured her bone-chilling indifference, and experienced it. Sarcastic words came from the husband's mouth, and yet she couldn't argue. She had no defense. Hubby, how do you know I'm just trying to please you, and not actually trying to fix my mistakes? Whether it was last night's intimacy, or making you this honey water now, these are just things I should do, as a wife. To call it, currying favor, when I was sick a few days ago, you also took good care of me. I admit that the past conflicts, the constant cold wars, and forcing you to back down were all my fault. Now I understand that, whether it's wealth or status, you are what matters most to me. Without you, none of this means anything. Having gone through so much over the years, you've always been the only one in my heart. Since I haven't crossed those insurmountable risks in marriage, why won't you give me a chance? For the sake of our years of marriage, okay? Whether I'm currying favor, or fulfilling my duties, you're the one who benefits. Since you think I can't keep this up for long, let's make a bet. If I'm ever indifferent to you again, or fail in my duties as a wife, without you saying a word, I will sign the divorce papers, and stop bothering you. Her words were full of emotion. I listened to it all from the bedside, and suddenly gave an inexplicable smile. Mature people usually master a skill, seeing the essence through the appearance. Marriage isn't just about two people, it's about two families. The reason things turned out this way with my wife, is largely due to the Su family. Su Chinue, oh Su Chinue, have you really not realized it? Or are you selectively avoiding it? Interesting, if nothing else. After Su Mubai's reluctant apology that day, I bet Wang Yun knows too. If things go as expected, a chain reaction is about to occur, and yet my wife makes such a solemn promise, that she'll stand against the Su family for me, will she? I can answer that myself, no, that's why I smiled just now. Aren't Su Chinue's words just a joke? With an intriguing smile, I asked her, really? Su Chinue immediately responded with a huff. I can already see a great show beginning. The love, hate, and grudges since we met, will all be settled in that show. Su Chinue saw her husband's intriguing smile. His gaze seemed to be on her, yet also on someone else. It was inscrutable. I got out of bed. Su Chinue first helped me pick out clothes from the closet, then changed the sheets and tidied the messy bed. A perfectly gentle and virtuous wife. Even though her husband relented, she felt very uneasy. Considering her husband's sudden change in attitude, she thought of the phrase, retreat to advance. Su Chinue suppressed her unease. After I finished washing up, those nimble, slender, jade-like hands adjusted my tie and collar. Her hands paused for a moment, as she thought of Wang Yun's repeated warnings. I have to go home tonight. I postponed it the day before yesterday, and postponed yesterday's to today. I have to go back eventually. Hubby, Mom has asked me several times to go visit them. I stayed home waiting for you last night and didn't go. I might have to go home tonight. Will you come back with me? I look at myself in the mirror. I used to be a good match with Su Chinue. We seemed like one. But in reality, I didn't want to go. I made no effort to hide it. Su Chinue heard such a direct rejection. Her face turned a bit gloomy. But it didn't mean anything. She knew her husband didn't like her going to her parents' house. Her parents' attitude toward him had long since changed. I'll make it up to you when I get back. you're going to see your parents tonight. I'm going to see mine tonight, too. We'll each go to our own homes. I said it casually, as if I didn't really care. The two went from a formal couple to just roommates living together. Staying or leaving doesn't matter. It didn't matter, but she heard it clearly. Not myself. I shouldn't have suggested going to my parents' house. Just when our relationship was slightly improving, she could only change the subject. She took a bank card out of the drawer. Hubby, husband and wife should rely on each other. You must tell me if you're short on money in the future. With me here, you don't need to beg others. Su Chinua personally tucked the bank card into my hand. The password is your birthday. I felt how light the bank card in my hand was, but it was my dignity that was being bought. If I really used it, I'd become the leech the Su family calls me, a loser, and don't use other women's money. Su Chinua repeated it again. She was really afraid I'd borrow money from Shinwanji. Once people owe each other, things get complicated. For Su Chinua, this was a beautiful morning. At least her husband's attitude had softened. She could see hope in saving this marriage. Little did she know, I had already seen through everything. That agreement is hope in Su Chinua's eyes. But in mine, it's a time bomb. The countdown has already begun. The day after drinking, there's still a risk of a DUI. I originally wanted to call a driver. Su Chinua drove me personally. As I was getting out of the car, she said, "Hubby, wait." What else? A gentle kiss landed on my cheek. The space in the car was small. I could smell it, the unique cold fragrance on my wife. "I'll bring you lunch at noon. What would you like to eat, hubby?" "Whatever you want, I'm going." I didn't stay long. Unbuckled my seatbelt and got out. Su Chinua looked through the car window, watching my figure walk into the company. When we first got married, we were inseparable in the mornings. Time flies. He used to often delay his own work. Now, even if she initiates a kiss, he can leave freely, without a hint of lingering. Su Chinua knew she couldn't blame anyone else for this. She had turned this marriage into this herself. "Hubby, in this life, I will use the rest of my life to make it up to you. Loving you," until her husband's figure was completely out of sight. Su Chinua then drove away. She wasn't going to the office. She had arranged a meeting place with Shinwanji yesterday. They needed to have a good talk. In the bedroom, a graceful and charming figure was taking off her pajamas, putting on an elegant and mysterious long dress. Shinwanji had a dream last night. She dreamed her family was very happy. Her parents' marriage wasn't broken. She didn't have to leave with her mother. She and I went to the same university. Campus life was beautiful. The sunset on the ground looked like a layer of gold. A girl confessed her love to me. I refused. A boy confessed to her. She also resolutely refused. No one could come between these childhood sweethearts. Those wishes you spoke of, the oaths you made, they fulfilled them one by one, walking through the seasons together. After graduation, I made my first pot of gold. My career took off. Soon I proposed to her. But on the wedding day, the bride on stage wasn't her, but Su Chinua. At that, she woke up from the dream. Shinwanji didn't forget her appointment with Su Chinua. This was destined not to be a simple meeting. It's funny to think about. She was actually giving others advice on how to win back Gu Huai. Maybe this is fate's punishment. In an elegant coffee shop, two stunning women sat across from each other, creating a visual feast. But the atmosphere didn't seem relaxed. The waiter brought them coffee. Even they could feel the eerie silence. Like a sign before a storm, Shinwanji picked up her coffee, took a sip and put the cup back on the saucer. The clinking sound broke the silence. "Ask whatever you want to ask. I won't hide anything." Again with this composure, as if she were the rightful wife, and herself, just a third party who intruded halfway. Su Chinua really disliked this feeling. "You said, you and Gu Huai are high school classmates who haven't met in a long time, but things between you don't seem that simple. If you were just normal high school classmates, you wouldn't bypass his wife to see him privately. You lied to me." Shinwanji's expression remained unchanged, as if the wife status Su Chinua emphasized was insignificant in her eyes. There was no emotion even in her tone. "I didn't lie to you. Gu Huai and I were indeed high school classmates, also junior high classmates. We even went to the same kindergarten. We went to and from school together. Our homes were very close, right next to each other, and sometimes he came to my house for dinner. I went to his house for dinner. This is the truth you wanted to know." Su Chinua took a sip of her coffee. An intense bitterness had already begun to spread in her heart. She had imagined that Shinwanji and her husband had a romance, perhaps a first love, but none of that mattered. She understood that her husband truly loved her, the kind of love that was very deep. He was willing to give up his career for her, using the money to save her mother. A first love should have been moved on from long ago, but then Shinwanji told her, "Your husband and I grew up together, we were childhood sweethearts, whether it was sunny or rainy, or through summer and winter, we spent them together. Our families lived very close to each other. Eating at each other's houses was a common occurrence." Within those plain words, lay countless enviable and beautiful memories. Until this moment, Su Qingyue finally understood why Shinwanji, even when facing her husband's wife, could remain so calm and composed. The time she had known her husband was nowhere near as long as his childhood friend. The two had walked through the best parts of life together, the most unforgettable 10+ years. In each other's lives, they left indelible marks. Perhaps the past of these childhood sweethearts was even more beautiful than a story in a movie. Such a person is truly too dangerous. She could easily take him away from me. A sense of helplessness and crisis surged up simultaneously. Su Qingyue asked the most important question. Do you still love him? Do you want the truth or a lie? The two locked eyes. The truth is, I have always loved him, despite all the signs indicating that Shinwanji treated her husband differently, whether it was the story of their meeting that day, or the following day, when she couldn't wait to go to his office to see him. But when asked such a sensitive question, Shinwanji still dared, in front of his legal wife, to bluntly state her love, that she had always loved him. Her frankness made Su Qingyue's heart ache. This marriage between her and her husband had long been in jeopardy, and as for Shinwanji, would she become the last straw that breaks the camel's back? Whether he would seek past happiness in her. Once a person is unhappy, they will especially miss the beauty of the past. And Shinwanji, this childhood sweetheart who appeared out of nowhere, carrying those 10+ years of beauty, through time, taking her husband away from her would be far too easy. No matter what you went through in the past, or how admirable it was, right now, Gu Huai is my husband, I am his wife, Su Qingyue emphasized, seemingly calm. In reality, those 2 marriage certificates at home were the only things she could rely on. Shenwanji said without changing her expression, I love him. That is my business. You don't need to be so hostile toward me. Between Gu Huai and me, there are many things that are beyond words now. Now, my greatest wish is for him to be happy. You don't have to worry about me taking him away from you. This depends on you. If you and your husband are happy enough, and love each other enough, how could an outsider interfere? Yesterday, I went to Gu Huai's office, because he lacked funds, and was having cash flow problems. If you, as his wife, could care more, and had lent him money earlier, what else could I have done? I hope you understand this. If Gu Huai leaves you, it's not because he wronged you, but because you failed him. I'll leave it at that. Su Qingyue, if you can make Gu Huai happy, then prove it to me. If you can't, then stop wasting his time. Just let him go. This conversation seemed as though Su Qingyue, as the wife, had the upper hand, but in reality, she lost completely, because what Shinwanji said wasn't without merit. If the two managed their marriage well, why fear an outsider? The declaration of war had been issued. Shinwanji did not hide her love at all. If you can make him happy, then I wish you both well. If you can't, then step aside quickly. Shinwanji was the first to leave. She walked out of the coffee shop and got into her car. The car drove forward, leaving the buildings on both sides of the street behind. When Su Qingyue personally said to her, "He is my husband," Shinwanji's expression didn't change. In fact, those words turned into the sharpest knife, cutting back and forth across her heart. Gu Huai should have been her husband. She was the one who was there first. They had spent so many years of their lives together, only to end up as strangers. Anyone in her position would be filled with bitterness. The more beautiful those memories were, the more painful they became now. Su Qingyue would never know how much Shinwanji envied her current status. In the coffee shop, Su Qingyue sat still for a long time. She seemed unable to refute Shinwanji's words, not even a single sentence, because she was an inadequate wife. The other woman's love was vast and incredibly deep, crushing all of her defenses. But after losing and then regaining him, Su Qingyue had confidence. At this moment, she loved her husband more than Shinwanji did. So what if they were childhood sweethearts? In the end, they didn't end up together. Gu Huai's current wife is me, not her. The two had talked for about 10 minutes. I had only been away from Su Qingyue for less than half an hour, but she missed me immensely and wanted to go back. Her husband still had to work. She would only be a nuisance. She had to be a sensible wife who knew when to step back. She suppressed the longing in her heart, and went to her own company to handle business. I knew nothing of the meeting between Su Qingyue and Shen Wanji. Absolutely nothing. Today, a business partner was beating around the bush. To put it bluntly, she was rushing to give me money. It's strange, yet not so strange. I refused outright. The people I helped in the past, many were willing to make concessions within reasonable limits. Therefore, quite a few owe me favors. By scraping everything together, I can finally get through the current crisis. As for the bank card Su Qingyue gave me, I threw it back into the bedroom drawer. I also looked for the marriage certificate while I was at it. I found that I couldn't find it. It's probably been hidden by my wife. It doesn't matter anymore. Chen Qingqing disobeyed the boss's orders yesterday. Today she was thinking of making amends. But then the office door was pushed open. An aloof, icy beauty appeared. However, when Su Qingyue saw her husband, only tenderness remained. Tactfully, Chen Qingqing said hello, and left in a hurry, under immense pressure in front of the boss's wife, feeling inexplicably guilty. Can anyone compete with her? Probably only that Ms. Shen. Perhaps because of the promise made this morning, her husband still gave her face and ate with her. Much of the unease in Su Qingyue's heart dissipated. I didn't even need to serve myself. My bowl was already full. Enough, I'll do it myself. Hubby, once this busy period is over, shall we travel to another city? A woman's heart is as deep as the ocean. I couldn't guess my wife's intentions at all. The pressure Shen Wanji put on her was too much. So much that she wanted to take her husband somewhere without her, to slowly repair their relationship. Once the relationship improves, just as she said, any outsider trying to interfere would be acting in vain. The dignified President Su is finally willing to set aside work. Su Qingyue, I hardly recognize you anymore. Back when I said I wanted a child, Su Qingyue's excuses were always the same few. One of them was being too busy with work. Now she says if she has time, we can go for a getaway. It's a bit ironic. Su Qingyue didn't mind her husband's sarcasm at all. Actually, it wasn't really sarcasm, just telling the truth. Reality itself is just that ironic. Compared to my previous life, life after I left was bleak, without hope or meaning. This sarcasm doesn't even count as punishment. Hubby, you said you'd give me a chance to correct my mistakes. In a while, let's go see the beautiful scenery of our country together. Promise me, okay? No way. I rejected her without a second thought. I've long lost the mood for such things. Secondly, I can't rely on anyone now. I must hold on to my career tightly. Su Qingyue looked at her husband's profile and sighed softly. Her plan fell through. She couldn't be by her husband's side all the time. To stop him from seeing Shen Wanji, to tell him to stop working, and stay home peacefully, is that possible? Completely impossible. She regretted immensely that when her husband wanted a child, she didn't have one with him. Otherwise, what could Shen Wanji do? If the child called him Dad, her husband would have to come home. The only thing she can do now is to slowly repair this cracked marriage. After dinner, she cleaned up the leftovers herself. I thought my wife would leave after delivering the food. Who knew she would sit on the sofa, clinging to my arm, leaning on my shoulder for nearly an hour. This kind of scene probably only happened during our honeymoon. Hubby, you must remember, I love you more than anyone. What others can give you, I can give you too. Su Qingyue whispered softly while leaning on my shoulder. There was a hint of pleading in her voice. She held my arm tighter and tighter. Only this way could Su Qingyue feel that the man beside her, her legal husband, truly belonged to her, and no one could take him away. These words were like water droplets sliding off a lotus leaf to me. They had no effect at all. Anyone can say sweet things. They cost nothing, anyway. As for what you say, I used to believe it. Not anymore. It's about time. President Su, you should head back to your company. I got up from the sofa, and pulled my arm out of my wife's embrace, and sat in my office chair. Su Qingyue thought about having to go home tonight, and not being able to sleep in the same bed as her husband. Her heart felt empty, but since he had asked her to leave, she could only go. Before leaving, she gave him a gentle kiss, just like this morning, on her husband's cheek. I really feel that fever. Might have broken my wife's icy personality. I heard Chin Ching mention a cat cafe nearby. The cats in the cafe are very clingy, but likely not even half as clingy as Su Qingyue, kissing me twice in one day. I didn't expect Su Qingyue would use such little tricks to coax me, but so what? That's not where the problem lies. Temporary sweetness without solving the root cause is unsustainable in the end. Around 3 p.m., my mother, Fan Lan, called. It was my turn to sigh, probably calling to pressure me for a child again. Son, I have something to tell you. Fan Lan mentioned Shenwanji. That child came to visit today at noon. So many years have passed in a flash. Fan Lan's voice was full of emotion. I saw that she hasn't had it easy these years. I kept her for lunch. Her eyes actually turned red. I remained silent. When we were little, both families went to pick us up from kindergarten. Picking up one was the same as picking up two. Whether it was Shenwanji or me, we often ate at each other's houses. Feel free to come and go as you please. I still remember the joke Mom used to make. You should be Aunt Ning's son, and Xiao Wan should be my daughter. That way, both families would have both a son and a daughter. Fan Lan indeed raised Shenwanji as her own daughter. Whenever there was something delicious at home, she would always have me take it next door. She never left anything out. Unfortunately, not every family can be so harmonious. Regarding the divorce of Shenwanji's parents, outsiders simply couldn't intervene. Even I was powerless. I just listened to Mom's sighs and didn't speak. I didn't say a word until my father, Gu Feng, took the phone. Your mom mentioned she wants to go traveling lately. I'm planning to take her around to see different places. I thought of the gray hair on my parents' heads. Even though I'm reluctant to admit it, my parents are truly getting old. Time is so heartless. Can you two still handle the travel? Mom has some chronic health issues too. Don't worry. We haven't reached the age of being useless yet. I felt even more troubled. More troubled than the company being in difficulty. Next month, I'll go with you next month. No need, my father said. That really broke my heart. At the same time, some bad memories resurfaced. When I was a bit older, every year on their wedding anniversary, my parents would always leave me for a day or two to enjoy themselves. I'd come home and call for Mom, but no one answered. There was plenty of living expenses left on the table. During those times, I only had myself for company. I cut off those uncontrollable thoughts. Once I recall those 10+ years, she was everywhere. I'm coming home for dinner tonight. We'll talk tonight. Yeah, the conversations between father and son are just that brief. The call ended. I fiddled with my phone for a while. Money is tight, but I still scraped together a sum for my parents' trip, so they wouldn't have to scrimp and save. Our son said he's coming home for dinner tonight. Hearing this, Fan Lan asked happily, is our daughter-in-law coming back? He didn't say. Probably not. Do you think there's conflict between the two of them? Gu Feng said calmly, children have their own fortunes. You should stay out of it. How can I not care? They've been married for so many years and still no grandchild. Sigh. After finishing the last proposal submitted by Chin Ching, my gaze lingered on this beautiful secretary. There was more consideration in my eyes. I had long discovered that Chin Ching is a talent worth nurturing. It would be a waste for her to remain an assistant. The company has recently expanded several major business lines. Should I transfer her to another department, to gain some experience? Maybe in the future, even if I'm not at the company, she could take charge on her own. Chen Qingqing felt the boss's focused gaze. He was staring straight at her. She felt a bit flustered. Her cheeks turned slightly red. Does the boss have a thing for black stockings? Today, Chen Qingqing wore a pencil skirt, paired with black stockings and high heels. She looked a bit more mature and strikingly beautiful. Perhaps she hadn't even noticed her own subconscious. Since being left behind by me 2 days ago, she had been questioning her own charm. Her dress and grooming had become more exquisite. Have you seen enough, boss? I remained silent. I should observe her a bit more. Some things only get worse the more you explain, so it's better not to talk. Have the operations department execute according to this plan. Chen Qingqing stole a glance at me, then quickly lowered her eyes. She took the proposal and left the office. Her slender figure disappeared. I was already on the way home. Su Qingyue was also on the way home. Even though she had told her husband last night that she was going to her parents' house tonight, she still sent him another message. After waiting for a while, she didn't receive a reply or a call from him. Her phone rang. It was a message from her mother, Wang Yun, urging her to come home for dinner. The car started, and merged into the flowing traffic. The interior of the Su family villa was very luxurious. The dining table was filled with delicacies. Why isn't your sister back yet? Could it be that Gu Huai is causing trouble again? My daughter married him. She wasn't sold to him. To need his permission just to come home? How ridiculous. Wang Yun felt frustrated thinking about recent events. Su Mubai comforted her from the side. Sis will definitely come back tonight. In her heart, how could that loser compare to you, Mom? This made Wang Yun feel much more at ease. About 10 minutes later, Su Qinyue drove back. The moment she stepped into the house, a sense of warmth and familiarity washed over her. Living another life, she also yearned for a family reunion. Mom, Su Qinyue called out softly. Wang Yun was about to scold her for being late, but seeing her daughter's teary eyes, she felt heartbroken. Were you mistreated? No, I'm just so happy to see you. What nonsense is that? We just saw each other last week. Is it because when I was sick, Gu Huai gave you a hard time? If you're mistreated, you must tell the family. Now that your brother is successful, we don't have to live according to his whims anymore. It's all my fault for being sick back then, making you marry him for that bit of money. Otherwise, with my daughter's looks and personality, you could definitely find a man worthy of entrusting your life to. Having money really makes things different. Hundreds of thousands in life-saving money became that bit of money in her mouth. She completely forgot the scene of begging for loans everywhere, being chased away by relatives like the plague. Listen to me, we won't take his attitude anymore. A man with no ability only acts tough at home. You've been married to him for so many years, and you don't even have a child. It seems he doesn't even have the most basic ability. Get a divorce when you go back this time. Don't live like a widow. If he wants money, give it to him. If Gu Huai dares to demand too much, don't blame us for ignoring past kindness. See you in court. There are countless young talents after a divorce. My daughter is at her most beautiful age, and she's wealthy. Even finding a matrilocal husband wouldn't be a problem. Our family won't be separated anymore. Su Mubai's wife, Mo Chiuyun, was right there. Those words made her see the Su family's true colors. In this family, unless you are blood-related, they won't treat you as family. Daughters-in-law don't count. Sons-in-law don't count either. Those with different surnames are outsiders. She had been married to Su Mubai for several years. Her mother-in-law had never comforted her like that, not once. Mo Chiuyun had also met me a few times. His way of handling things was at least not as bad as her mother-in-law claimed. She and I had one thing in common, we weren't as rich as the Sus. So, her mother-in-law looked down on her husband, and likely didn't think much of her either. A chilling cold to the bone. Hearing her mother's biased words, Su Qinyue dazed out for a moment. Mom! I didn't marry Gu Huai because of money. It's because I like him, I love him, and he treats me very well. I haven't been mistreated. As for the child, it was me who didn't want one before. There's nothing wrong with Gu Huai's health. Silly girl, you're still defending him. Wang Yun felt frustrated. Sis, let's eat first. We can talk while we eat. Su Mubai spoke up. Although Su Qinyue had forced him to apologize last time, he had been disciplined by her since childhood, and didn't dare to defy her. Su Qinyue nodded. She also greeted her sister-in-law. During the meal, the atmosphere gradually improved. My journey home wasn't that smooth. It was late by the time I arrived. I opened the car door and got out. Through the windows and balcony, I could see the house was brightly lit. Surprisingly, the house next door was also lit up. I felt a bit dazed. What year is it today? That house not far away was Shen Wanji's home, but after her mother took her away, Uncle Shen also moved away from this sad place. It was neither for rent nor for sale. Occasionally, a cleaning lady could be seen going in to clean. The lights almost never turned on at night. Now, the lights of both houses shone together, as if time were flowing backward. I composed my thoughts. The lights of the other house weren't lit for me after all. I walked straight home. Hearing the door open, Fong Lan hurriedly stood up. The aroma of food filled the living room. There was the sound of the television. Everything was so familiar. My parents had a few more gray hairs. I suddenly understood why Dad wanted to take Mom, who was in poor health, traveling. Time really doesn't wait for anyone. What's for dinner tonight? Don't worry, it's all your favorites. How come your wife didn't come back with you? Fong Lan asked with a smile. She's going back to her house tonight. What do you mean, her house? You mean your house? Are you two having a fight? For married people, a wife usually refers to her parents' home as her side, and this as her home. Why use such distant terms? No, Mom, stop worrying. Your son is starving, and you're still thinking about your daughter-in-law. I tried to change the subject. We hadn't really fought. I just wanted a divorce. Fong Lan was half convinced. She went back to the kitchen to bring out the warm food. The two elders were waiting. A meal is better when the whole family is together. Remembering the last time she called her daughter-in-law to urge her to have a baby, she seemed to want a child too, so the chance of a conflict was probably small. Just as I sat down, Fong Lan asked, "Any news on Yu's pregnancy yet, Mom? If there is, I'll tell you immediately, okay?" I said helplessly. The family had a reunion dinner together. I quickly cleared the dishes. After washing them, I went to the living room. I sat on the sofa with my father and watched TV for a while. "Dad, where are you planning to go for this trip?" "Spring City, South Island, just travel around. I'll transfer some money to you. Just treat it as a bonus. Spend it, don't be stingy." While speaking, I used my phone to transfer the money. Gu Phone wasn't the type to ruin the mood. He took the money his son gave him. After all, he had also saved up a sum for his son. Fong Lan went to take a shower. Gu Feng asked, "Have you and she decided to get a divorce?" Facing my father's inquiry, I remained silent for a moment. I sighed and said, "Lately, she's changed so much I hardly recognize her, but the core issue hasn't been resolved. In the end, we'll have to divorce. I'm going for a walk. If Mom looks for me, just tell her." I got up, grabbed my keys, and went out. Night fell. The streetlights were on. I was familiar with every inch of this land. Yet now, I couldn't find anywhere I wanted to go. I walked aimlessly. I passed through the bustling lights and came to the canal. The cool breeze blowing from the river could no longer take away my worries like it did when I was young. Everything seemed to be changing. I stood there quietly, watching the river reflecting a few lights, rippling up and down. I didn't know what I was thinking, until a voice that seemed to come from my memory rang out. "Gu Huai." Shen Wanji didn't know I had returned. She just wanted to revisit an old place today, but she didn't expect to meet an old friend at the old place. The moment she saw me, Shen Wanji even thought it was a hallucination. Many years ago, fate had separated this pair of childhood sweethearts. Now, it brought them together again. Things remain, but people change. Not necessarily. I didn't turn around. Although I was reluctant to admit it, I knew exactly who it was just by her voice. The two seemed to have nothing to say, but the gentle river water flowed in tranquility. Something was being silently conveyed. After a long while, I spoke. "Don't play those clumsy tricks anymore. I don't need your help, and you don't need to mind my business." I know that partner who was so eager to give money was arranged by Shinwanji. Do we really have to draw such a clear line between us? I gave my answer. That one simple word made Shinwanji's eyes redden. "You're still the same, you haven't changed at all. If you hate me, you should use me. That's the right way to take revenge. You're just too soft-hearted. That's why you got mixed up with those ungrateful wolves of the Su family." There seemed to be a sob in the wind. "Gu Huai, Auntie Fong kept me for lunch today, just like before. The food still tasted so familiar. It hasn't changed at all." I was thinking then, if my family were also this harmonious and long-lasting, your wife would be me now, not Su Qingyue. The promises we once made wouldn't have washed away like this river. Fate truly plays tricks on us. I turned around. What's the use of saying all this now? Tears shimmered in Shinwanji's eyes. Yes, what's the use of saying all this now? But she still looked stubbornly at the man in front of her. In this world, not everything has a definitive conclusion. Some things are simply beyond repair. Shinwanji knew this all too well. It was because she knew it so well that she felt such despair. Even though her beloved was right before her, she could no longer, as she once did, feel the warmth of his embrace. Shinwanji had missed out on the life where we would grow old together. By now, even if she still loved him, it was to no avail. Even saying those words wouldn't bring back the past. One remained silent, while the other was choked with emotion. Under the streetlights, even their shadows seemed to be gazing at each other. A phone ringtone broke the silence between them. The Su family still kept Su Qingyue's room. It was still a large master bedroom. Su Mubai's wife mentioned it once. and was immediately scolded by Wang Yun. In the room, theoretically, she should have felt more relaxed being back home, but a cloud of worry hung on her beautiful face. Her brows were slightly furrowed. During this dinner, her parents spent almost the whole time trying to persuade her to divorce. They wouldn't listen to any of her protests. For the first time, she felt like a stranger among her own family. So tired. I miss him. Su Qingyue dialed my number, quietly waiting for the call to be answered. On the other side, I turned my gaze to the water reflecting the neon lights. I didn't try to avoid it. Shen Wanji watched as I answered. Hubby, I miss you. The words of this icy beauty were full of tenderness, like the first breeze of spring, though still carrying the chill of winter. They could soothe the heart. Are mom and dad doing okay? Su Qingyue remembered that her husband had also gone home to visit his parents today. They're fine. They're planning to go on a trip. I pondered the purpose of my wife's call. Every visit to her parents' house always resulted in something. Last time, Su Mubai was forced to apologize to me. Knowing my mother-in-law's temperament, she probably wouldn't let things go easily. Just say what's on your mind. I spoke frankly, not wanting to beat around the bush anymore. Does a wife need a reason to call her husband? Remember when we first got married and you went on a business trip? We would chat until we both fell asleep. The call stayed on all night. Speaking of the past, a flicker of nostalgia flashed in Su Qingyue's bright eyes. From my tone, Shen Wanji could probably guess who was calling. She wiped away the traces of tears. The redness at the corners of her eyes proved that this charming woman had just been crying. She looked exceptionally poignant and moving. A girl selling flowers passed by. She had noticed Shen Wanji and me a while ago. The two of us looked like a perfect match standing together, but it seemed like we were having a spat. Sigh, I don't know what there is to fight about. Seeing such a perfect couple, she intentionally approached and asked, Sister, would you like to buy some flowers? The flowers in the cart were beautiful beyond words. It looked like she was heading to the night market. Shen Wanji realized that the girl had misunderstood that she and I were a couple. To her, this misunderstanding was a form of solace. Shen Wanji's gaze rested on a corner of the cart. I'll buy. Please give me 3. No, 4 roses. Okay. The flower girl picked the 4 most beautiful roses for Shen Wanji. Then she wrapped them with practiced movements, occasionally glancing at me on the phone. He's handsome enough, but he's a bit of a blockhead. How much? It's okay, sister. You're prettier than the flowers. Consider it a gift from me. Besides, love is priceless. The girl smiled and declined the payment. She happily pushed her cart toward the stall. Su Qingyue, on the other end of the line, could vaguely hear the conversation. She was certain that it was Shen Wanji's voice. She seemed to be buying something. This meant her husband wasn't just with her. They might even be out together. At that thought, Su Qingyue instantly became uneasy. This morning, Shen Wanji had admitted to her face that she still loved her husband, and tonight, she appeared by his side. This was something no wife could tolerate. Su Qingyue's hands instinctively clenched. Hubby, you're with Shen Wanji right now, aren't you? I sensed the change in my wife's tone. Remaining calm, I told the truth. We ran into each other by chance. The city is so big, how could you two just happen to meet? I've always preferred the carrot to the stick. I told you, but you don't believe me. Why even ask? Don't you already have the answer in your heart? I specifically went to see her to reminisce. Are you satisfied with that answer? We're going to end this marriage sooner or later anyway. You can just assume I cheated, see you in court, or see you at the Civil Affairs Bureau, whatever. I hung up right after saying that. I don't believe that Su Qingyue, back home this time, doesn't have any significant feelings. The marital problems between the two of them, where exactly do they lie? He just doesn't want to admit it. Or rather, he doesn't want to make a choice. The call ended, and silence returned once more. Shen Wanji was holding those 4 fresh roses. They complemented her slightly moving hair, creating a beautiful scene. 3 roses mean, I love you, 4 have another meaning. A gust of wind blew, and a bright red rose petal drifted toward the shimmering water, as if reminiscing about a lost love. Both Shen Wanji and I focused our gaze on it. A moment later, I turned and left. Shen Wanji kept pace and walked beside me. She had someone she wanted to give those 4 roses to, but they were destined to remain ungiven. The surrounding buildings were changing. but the road beneath our feet remained the same. Shen Wanji never thought that she could still walk with me on this incredibly familiar road. This road is scattered with memories. The first time I officially held her hand was on this very road. Back then, we took the long way around. Every step was happiness. Now, we have become the most familiar strangers. Memories are too long, the road is too short. In the blink of an eye, we were home. I didn't say anything. I opened the door and went inside. Shenwanji looked at the 4 roses in her hand, and placed them in a flower bed by my courtyard wall. 3 roses mean, I love you. For mean, undying love. My call with Su Qingyue just now, she had been paying attention. The more she heard, the more painful it felt. If she hadn't left back then, she certainly could have given him a happy life. Instead of him meeting Su Qingyue, and those ungrateful people in the Su family, a single incident didn't just change her life, it changed his life too. I returned home. The lights were still on in the living room, but my parents had already gone to sleep by then. I quieted my steps and went to the 2nd floor to wash up. I threw myself onto the bed. From the bedroom window, I could see another window lit up just the same. The lights from the 2 windows echoed each other. I tried my best not to think about the past. I gently pressed the switch next to the headboard. A few seconds later, the light in the window opposite also went out, as if saying goodnight. I had insomnia. Many things were jumbled together, like various vines intertwined. I unlocked my phone, and saw several missed calls. They were from Su Qingyue while I was showering. I had no intention of calling back. I just browsed the trending topics online, and looked up the places my parents were going to visit. Half an hour ago, Su Qingyue listened to the call her husband had suddenly hung up, and a sense of confusion clouded her heart. It was as if she had become someone who pleased no one. On one side, her parents were urging her to divorce. On the other, he was willing to admit to cheating just to get a divorce. Why was it that whenever she left her husband's side for even a moment, another woman would appear? She could ignore Qin Qingqing, but facing Shenwanji, his childhood sweetheart, Su Qingyue couldn't be generous, couldn't remain indifferent. Loving someone makes it easy to feel insecure. In the past, she knew well that my heart belonged to her, and wouldn't be swayed by other women. But now, their marriage was in tatters, a complete mess. The love was gone. Su Qingyue no longer had that confidence. Not to mention that Shenwanji and I had shared over 10 years of beautiful times. Those memories were like seeds buried in the soil. Who could say for sure that they wouldn't sprout under some unexpected circumstance, grow, and finally bloom and bear fruit? That's why when she heard Shenwanji's voice over the phone with her husband earlier, she immediately lost her composure. Su Qingyue forced herself to calm down. Arguing was the last thing that should happen now. Past lessons told her that conflicts between husband and wife should not be dragged out. The longer they lingered, the thicker the rift would become. At the cafe this morning, Shenwanji had also said that she used to eat at her husband's house often during those years. The 2 families must live close to each other. Her deliberate actions became accidental encounters in her husband's eyes. Everything made sense now. Su Qingyue dialed my number again. No answer. 10:30 p.m. Given her husband's usual routine, he definitely hadn't gone to sleep yet. If calling once didn't work, call twice. If twice didn't work, call 10 times. Later, she switched to a chat app and started a video call. It was finally picked up. The screen was dim, lit only by the faint glow of a nightlight. She could barely see the face she had been longing for. Are you video calling to catch me in the act? Then you're going to be disappointed. I didn't look at her. It was as if I had just answered casually, with my attention still on browsing the trending news. Hubby, I'm sorry. I was too impatient just now. I shouldn't have questioned you. I raised an eyebrow. During previous Cold Wars, my wife was never this quick to soften. Even if she did give in, with her cold nature, she wouldn't say it out loud. Usually, she would cook a meal, or initiate intimacy at night, or personally pick out a couple of nice outfits for me. It was always through actions. But now, barely an hour after the argument, she had called time after time, and apologized very sincerely. It felt like punching cotton. It's strange that this time I went home. My dear mother-in-law didn't try to drive a wedge between us, or vent her frustrations for her son. Everything feels incredibly eerie. Seeing her husband remain silent, Su Qingyue took the initiative to find a topic. Silence between a couple is too lethal. Two people who were meant to grow old together, have ended up with nothing to say to each other. What a huge irony. How are Mom and Dad's health? He asked. They're fine. They're planning to go on a trip. When are they leaving? I'll go and see them off. No need for you to come all that way tomorrow. Having me there is enough. I rejected her request. Hubby, as they say, couples' quarrels are settled easily. Please stop being angry, okay? Shen Wanji admitted to me that she still can't forget you. So when I found out she was with you, that's why I reacted so strongly. I just care about you too much. There's still over an hour left, before a new day begins. Let's turn the page on this quarrel. After you take Mom and Dad to the airport tomorrow, please come back to our home. I'll work hard to be the wife you want me to be. As long as you're willing, we will always be as loving as when we first married. Her tender voice spoke softly, sounding very pleasant. The happy life she described was even more enticing. What Su Qingyue fears most now is her husband staying away from home, so she made all sorts of promises. We'll see. If you don't want to come back, I can move in with you. Su Qingyue didn't push him further. Instead, she took the initiative to reach out. It didn't matter where they lived. As long as he was by her side, cut it out. You were the one who wanted to sleep in separate rooms. I didn't know how to cherish you before. And hubby, you promised to give me a chance to start over. Tonight Su Qingyue seemed to have transformed from ice into gentle water, completely submissive. It was frighteningly unfamiliar. Go to sleep. I hung up the video call. Su Qingyue still had many things she hadn't said. She typed and then deleted messages in the chat box. Ultimately, her husband only sent her a good night. She knew her husband's meeting with Shen Wanji tonight was definitely not as peaceful as it seemed. What did they say? Had her husband truly let go of that relationship completely? Everything. All of it was what Su Qingyue wanted to know. This quarrel had barely lasted for 3 days. The rift, after all, didn't last until the next day. At that thought, a long-awaited sense of comfort welled up in Su Qingyue's heart. Little did she know, this quarrel was just a small beginning, far from being a true conflict.